Trick or treat.
I got it.
Trick or treat.
Do what?
Trick or treat.
I got it. Hey.
Trick or treat.
Turn it.
Trick or treat. Trick or treat.
Hey,
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis.
And DJ Neko.
Here with you on the Meltdown Radio podcast, doing my birthday special with my birthday coming up. So I decided to take a moment to do a verses of my own, kind of borrowing from Samurai. And what is that back feed? What is that noise? It's crazy.
Well, anyway, it's Halloween themed.
I guess.
I think. Do you see that little ghoul peeking up to the right of Big Bad Wolf, or left of Big Bad Wolf? That's who it is.
Okay. He's got like a secret ghost there. Anyway, we're here to vote for our best against Tales of Halloween versus Trick or Treat 2007. And I've invited some very special guests to join me today, including my partner in crime, DJ Necca, of course. We've got the Big Bad Wolf over there on the far right, Mr. Tony the fucking Dead, my ghoul brother from another ghoul mother.
Oh, fucking dead.
Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters, Anthony Jordan from Movies and Gaming, and of course, the mighty Rob from ETN. What is that?
I think it's a monster.
I don't know. It's crazy.
It could be a ghost. I mean, there's lots of goblins and ghouls. And
It's not me.
Yeah,
What did you do, Tony?
that's not me
Is
either.
it me?
No, like we're already having like technical difficulties. You.
Look at
Not me, because I've just stopped me making. It's not me.
Yeah, I bet you it's Rob.
what did you do, Rob?
Could be. Could be me. It's possible.
All right, so
Technical difficulties. Please.
we're going to be comparing a couple of
Please stand
anthologies
by.
here. Hopefully, it's not going to be too much of a problem with the feedback. But, I'm going to go around real quick, though, just to kind of get you guys' vibe about how you feel about anthologies in general and how when you first saw these films and what you thought, just generally speaking, of both of them. Let's start with Big Bad Wolf.
So I've never been a big horror fanatic growing up, but to watch these are very different from horror films I'm used to watching because I like watching things that have a lot of gore and violence, like Dark Soldiers and the Halloween film. So to watch this and just go in there, I mean, Anthony, Kevin, and Anubis can tell when I was watching it last night, I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? Because everything's all over the place. Nothing's following a certain formula. So I'm like, what is going on here? But then once they explained things to me, I began to understand things a little bit more. I went, oh, okay, these aren't too bad.
Yeah. Tony.
I love horror anthologies. I love anthologies in general. It's like one of my favorite genres up there with found footage and stuff. But yeah, I will like found footage. I'll watch every horror anthology there is.
Kevin.
Big fan of anthologies. I've been following like anthology movies since I was younger. Like I remember, like obviously you've got things like Creep Show, stuff like that, which started way back in the when, you know. And then obviously you had like Tales from the Crypt, which were like short stories, and then an anthology story I remember is it like things like Tales from the Dark Side, things like that. They were like the ones I grew up on, but then throughout the years there's always been one or two that's just come out of nowhere that's been a lovely surprise, including these two. I believe also the most recent one I've seen is the one that's on Netflix by Guillermo del Toro, which is Cabinet of Curiosities. That's a great anthology. So yes, all four anthologies. I think it's a nice way to go, especially when you want to tell horror stories.
Anthony.
Not the biggest anthology fan. Personally, I saw Trick or Treat about 3, maybe 4 years ago for the first time. In several months back when you teased doing this, I found Tales of Halloween on Tubi, and for anthology films, I think they're both pretty enjoyable.
Rob.
Yeah, so I'm not a horror fan at all. But the horror that I usually do like comes in this format. Like Kevin was saying, I love Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone. You want to think of something that's a little bit more in the sci-fi, but Twilight Zone was great. Creep Show was great. Not a horror show, but another anthology. It's my favorite show, Black Mirror. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Very
love
good
the
stuff.
format. I think the format works specifically for horror very well because among my favorite horror movies, and they're not many, are like the Creep Shows, Tales of the Crypt of those worlds. So these two movies were surprisingly enjoyable. I did like them. I waited till the last minute to watch them, man, because I'm not a horror fan. And I'm like, all right, I got to watch these. I can't just show up not knowing what the fuck is going
You
on.
can't just hold off forever.
and-
Yeah, well, you know what though, I give you a lot of credit because I know Sentry was supposed to be here, but he's not a big horror fan, and I think he just kind of said, "I'm not doing this."
Yeah, no, I no. If I say I'm gonna come on, I usually commit to it. So, but yeah, and it didn't help. I recently watched, not recently, but a couple of months ago, I watched Terrifier 3, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
completely put me off to the genre. I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. So I was like, this shit. I did not sleep well that night.
You dove in all in on that one because that series is pretty crazy.
I could not get the images out of my head. And it kept me up. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared. Like I didn't think Art the Clown was going to show up. I just couldn't get what I saw out of my head.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You have to walk before you can run, you know?
Yeah. Well, I
think
like to
for
dive
me-
in.
For me, like I like anthologies so much because I'm more of a TV show kind of person than a movie person. I like movies, don't get me wrong, but I love when you have like these shows that can be like standalone and they also still kind of, I mean, let's look at like Seinfeld. Like there's no rhyme or reason what's going on with Seinfeld or even like when we're talking about like Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Dark Side. I like something that I can watch and I feel like there's like little bits and then there's still an end. And that's kind of how all these little pieces fell together. It helps, I think, too, if you aren't a horror fanatic or if you're not into horror movies, then there's a lot of comedy woven into both of these. And there's kind of a lot of like, you know, I don't want to say fun because killing is not fun, but
Sometimes it is.
the way that they did it was actually kind of cool.
I'm a huge horror guy myself, but as far as what you said with the Terrifier, like I have zero interest in watching those films.
Yeah, man, that shit's brutal.
Well, before we get into both these movies, I just want to say hello to some of our people in chat, namely Jay Call. How you doing, good sir? Also got Sensei Red Spirit down here.
Cool name.
Yeah, very cool name. Let me see what else we got here. Oh yeah, we got DJ Neko is in here.
Hey.
He's
You
in
like
two
my-
places at
Another
once.
Creep Show fan. Yes.
Yeah, Creepshow's great.
Oh, by the way, Black Mirror's new season's
April 7th.
No,
We gotta catch up. I don't think we saw the last
Is
series.
it 10th? Okay, I thought it was the 7th. Yeah, I've been waiting for this shit.
We're
Oh,
behind.
man.
Yeah, we're behind.
Wait.
Yeah, I love Black Mirror.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Black Mirror?
Oh, you want some
Oh,
crazy shit?
You'll never know how good life is until you watch that show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I watched one episode with
couple
them
of
on
episodes
stream,
that
and
just
I was
blew
like,
my
"What the
mind.
heck is going on?"
Yeah,
More
the one we did
science
on
fiction
Discord.
anthology.
Yeah,
I've heard lots of good things. Isn't there? Haven't they just done a spin-off as well? Was that?
It was all right. They did a spin-off that it was like an interactive, but
Yep.
it was okay. It was okay.
That
It
wasn't near
like-
as good as the real series, though.
Yeah, the
I'm in the
series
middle
is-
of a.
It was
The
like
latest thing
Banderdash
I'm
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Balderdash or something. Yeah.
It was it was on net, and I did it. I sat there and I did every single thing so I could get
Hey,
every single.
Severio.
What up,
Thank you,
Severio?
sir.
Hey.
Yeah, I did it so I could get every single like option. There was something on Reddit and it was like you do this, this, and this, and this is how you'll get every single option that was ever. He saw me. I was like,
All right. Well,
All
let's
right.
get into. We're going to take it one movie at a time, and then at the end we're going to vote for which one we think's the best. We also have a poll that I did on my YouTube channel, so I'll post that at the end in case there's a tiebreaker. I'm not really expecting it, but in case there is. So this first movie, Tales of Halloween, came out in 2015. It's a comedy horror anthology consisting of 10 interlocking segments, each revolving around Halloween. some of the directors, a couple of notable directors in this is Neil Marshall from Dog Soldiers and The Descent, as well as Darren Lynn Bousman, who did some of the Saw series. So those are a couple of big names in here. And we're going to start with the first segment in the Tales of Halloween called Sweet Tooth, or kind of what I would just call Trick or Treat. So basically we have a young kid who has just got back from trick-or-treating, and he's babysat by this girl and her boyfriend who are sitting in the house, and they start telling him this tale of Sweet Tooth, who, if you don't leave a piece of candy for him, he'll come and take you and kill you and all that good stuff. So let's start with Rob. How did you feel about the first segment of this particular movie?
I thought, the first segment of this one was okay. Like, I like the concept behind the whole, this kid. It was this movie I like because has a little bit of, sprinkles a little cheese on there throughout all the stories. So I really liked the way the couple hammed it up, and when they were telling the story about Sweet Tooth and how it all started. They show obviously the parents lecturing the kid about candy and it being bad for him. And then they show the parents. I mean, they're just these actors are just hamming it up, overacting with the laughing. Like, I love candy too, but let's not get crazy. Okay. It's like, right. You know what I mean? But I like that. I like that hammy stuff. So yeah, I thought it was, knowing later what comes. So comparing already, I would say this is not one of my favorites of the 10, but I thought it was a good way to start it.
Yeah.
Same. It's not my favorite, but it's a good intro. I agree.
Tony.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the first one. It's a good story. I think it's funny to see like the parents, like Caroline Williams, and I was looking up his name, Robert Russler from Friday the 13th.
He was also in The Rookie.
Yeah. But it's like I only ever watched this once, this whole movie, and I was like, I don't think I like this too much. But now rewatching it for this, I liked it more,
A new appreciation for it, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And like I didn't notice, I don't know why I didn't notice like there's so many recognizable faces in this before. Like I saw some, but like now watching, I'm like, holy shit, I guess I know more now since I saw it. But yeah, I liked it. The only thing I don't get is the the ending, like why, like what happened? Why is he a spirit?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't get. Like, so other than that, yeah, I thought it was a good start as well. I agree with Rob. Yeah.
Kevin.
I thought it was pretty much what's been said, a good start. Obviously, last night when you did this, I came in late because my computer decided to be a dickhead. And so, because my computer is a dickhead, I missed pretty much the first few minutes of this. So I took my time to get the gist of what was going on. But obviously, soon as Sweet Tooth turned up, I thought, the design of the character of Sweet Tooth was really well done. There was like that one jump scare after the babysitter and her boyfriend are killed, where he's hiding under the bed and there's that one little bit of candy that's on the floor and the hand comes out and grabs it and pulls it away. I thought really good stuff. So really strong start.
Anthony.
Pretty much the same as everyone else. It's not my favorite, but it's a strong start, and it was interesting. Like, I could see Sweet Tooth getting expanded into his own movie just based off of what little they gave in just this one segment, but just like everyone else, very strong and fun start to a great anthology film.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Wolf.
Well, like everyone else, hate to piggyback off of everyone, but it is definitely a good start to the film to get things started. I thought it was kind of funny how when the parents came home, they just came back from probably drinking at a Halloween party. They were getting ready to go ham, and then they see the babysitter's just dead and ripped to shreds, and they're just looking at the kid. He's just like they ate my candy. And I'm just thinking, that's probably not the best line you should be saying after discovering that two corpses
Right.
in your living room.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you mean? Did they eat your
Well, they
candy?
reference it later with the cops. They're like, yeah, some kid just cut out all the candy of his parents. Neko, how'd you feel about that first episode?
I just said the same thing. I like it. It's a good entrance to the movie because it gears up and gets you into what we're going to expect. And as you said, every little segment kind of does reference because it's all kind of happens simultaneously.
Yeah, one thing I do like is the young boy who plays the kid that's being babysat, and as they're trying to tell him the story, he has his eye patch, and he's like, "Well, but there was no candy left." Oh, but there was.
Oh,
And so they
yeah,
go on
that
to
part.
describe what happened with that. So I thought that was kind of fun. That kid did a good job with the role.
Let's not forget the kid was Escape from L.A. Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get into the second segment of this. It's initially titled "The Night Billy Raised Hell," but I like to call it "Pranking the Prankster."
Oh, so you're making up your own little
I
tune.
am.
Oh
I
my
am.
God.
So basically, in this one, we have a young Billy who, again, is being babysat by his, I don't know if it's his sister or just some girl, but she's got her boyfriend who's teasing the shit out because he's wearing a devil costume, but they want to mock him because he's not doing any pranks. He's just still wanting trick or treat. So they send him to the neighbor's house to pull a prank, and which turns out to be a life-size version of the devil.
Mhm.
So let's start with Anthony because I know he kind of likes this one. So let's hear what you got to say about this particular segment.
This one was just a lot of fun, and it was a really dark comedy because Billy gets goaded into doing this, and then the guy catches him, pulls him in, and then you see them go out, and like the pranks start small as normal stuff, and then they start like escalating. He's robbing liquor stores, robbing people's candies.
Kind of gets
cars,
ridiculous.
and it was hilarious, like because me and you have seen this before and knew it, but Kevin and John didn't, so just their reactions is we know what's coming along. And like you can tell like everyone involved in this is just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but it's up there, and it's where I think Tales of Halloween really excels is when it leads more into the comedic, and like many of the ones it has a pretty great twist. Like I like how he's even the scene when Billy's like spray painting on the garage door. Billy owns this night. Then after
It's
Billy's
very
reign of
specific.
terror,
Like it has his first and last name too.
after Billy's reign of terror, they go back in the house, and Billy's still tied up, and this demon guy pulls the mask off, and he gives him the mask, and he's like, "Oh, you go home now, and don't forget to put the mask back on, and I'm sure your mom's gonna have a lot to talk to you about."
A lot of free time.
Yeah, a lot of free time.
Don't worry, I'll be there for your mother.
Wearing that slutty costume
What's up,
again.
Jedi?
Hey, sexual chocolate himself.
But yeah, this one, like I loved, where the previous one was a good starting point. It just escalated really quick with this one.
What's up, Loki?
Yeah.
Neko, how did you feel about this segment?
I did like this segment a lot. I think this segment is one that really stood out, and I'm not, giving away my feelings on either movie, but this segment is one that has made me make a decision on who I think is going to be the winner.
Ah, Tony.
Yeah, I like totally forgot the ending to this one. And I was like thinking, like I could tell it wasn't him doing it. I thought that was just somebody else doing it for him. But
like a dream or
yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And then the reveal at the end, I was like, oh shit. And then he comes outside and all the cops are there, and it's like, oh, this kid's screwed. That I thought he was teaching him how to prank, and then you go back and he's actually that was good. It was a good one. I liked Barry Bostwick. That's his name, right?
Billy?
Yeah, Barry Bostwick, the guy who made Mr. Abaddon. Yeah.
Oh, Abaddon. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was funny. It was a funny segment, but it was also incredibly violent. So I liked it.
I need to understand for anyone who I'm not seeing all of the chats on here.
I don't know.
Are you under YouTube or is it
Yeah,
just
it's YouTube, my channel, right?
Yeah,
I've streamed it to my channel as well. So
did I.
Oh, thank you, Kev.
Well, Rob, what did you think about this particular segment?
Yeah, I like this one. This was really funny. This was a strict comedy. I didn't this you could tell it's pretty obviously not the kid, number one, because of the way the masked person was moving, but also, I mean, the kid was so passive that to see him go from that and then immediately jump to doing all these things. So that's where I was curious. I'm like, okay, if it's not the kid, who is it? So then you see later it's like a little demon baby or whatever. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought this was just pure comedy. I mean, there's really nothing here that is remotely frightening or even not violent in a horror sense. Obviously, he's doing acts of violence, so holding people at gunpoint.
It was
I do like the nod to the darker princess from Legend.
Yeah.
So the girl who came out the car had the exact same dress that Mia Sara had on in that movie when she turned dark.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good. And the actress, to her credit, sounded like her when she spoke. I'm pretty sure she did that on purpose. They never showed her face, but when they showed her side profile, there's a lot of similarities to the way Mia Sara looked back then. So I thought that was a nice little touch to because he's the devil, and then he's robbing.
I got 500,000. He says 500,001.
Yeah. I thought that was really funny. So this was definitely like I said, first one was a strong opening. It wasn't my favorite, but this one is definitely among my favorite out of the 10. It was really good.
Wolf.
I thought this one was very wacky by at first of trying to get this kid to do a rite of passage to prank the old man. Turns out the guy's the devil, and throughout the entire time, first off, you guys made me feel stupid because I'm probably the one that thought it was the kid the entire time. Because I'm like, why is this kid that's so shy is now committing all these acts of violence, like when he robbed a liquor store?
I thought it the first time I saw it, I was like, it's the kid. What?
But I think one of my favorite moments is when he goes over and just beats the crap out of his babysitters and the boyfriend's laughing at her. She's like, stop laughing. He's over there recording her. And she's getting the crap beat out of her. And then the same when they carjack the actress. At the end, he goes, okay, Bill, you can go now. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll make sure your mom has a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Kevin.
When we were watching this in the watch party last night, I think it was Anthony that said that every time they did a creepy, serious story, they then did it immediately after a comedic story. So I found it fascinating how you went from that dark, sweet tooth story to this one of this demon who seemingly is taking a kid round trick-or-treating, causing havoc in the neighborhood. And it did have a lot of funny moments, but the ending, was I surprised at the ending? I wasn't surprised that it wasn't him under the hood, like under the mask. What surprised me is right at the end when he gets shot. The kid gets shot.
Oh, I forgot he got shot.
Yeah, they didn't show it, but you heard the gunshot. They're like, he pissed himself.
So I was like, well, so that's a serious bit. So it was a fun story out of all of them. It was probably for me the one that I found the most humorous out of all of the stories.
Yeah. All right, so into our third segment, which is initially called Trick, but I've renamed it An eye for an eye.
Your
So
titles are better.
basically, we have two adult couples who are smoking some dope, drinking, giving out candy to the kids until at some point a little young girl in a witch costume stabs one of the guys in the stomach, which then leads on this whole like series of events where these kids are starting to kill them off one by one. Let's start in our center square with Mr. Kevin Lambert.
Well, I'm glad you start with me because I can honestly say this was my favourite. Because this is the one where I generally was shocked. I thought it was like some sort of crazy, like Children of the Dam kind of thing, where you've got all these crazy kids in Halloween costumes just going around killing adults on Halloween night. And then you get that big reveal, you know, he gets killed, the first guy gets stabbed, and you know he's handing out candy to a small girl who I think we'll see later on as well, and he gets stabbed by one of the trick-or-treaters, and his partner then goes to go to the car to bring the car around to take him to hospital. She's then ganged up by all the kids who just go to town on her. She then kind of walks back through and falls into the swimming pool, and the other two witness it. And then obviously the other two try to hide and, you know, one by one get killed. But then the big reveal at the end, which it basically went from Children of the Dam to an episode of Dexter.
Yes.
It just was crazy how that happened. But that was the great thing about it. It went from you're not quite sure what's going on or why the kids are kind of going around doing what they're doing, to then them having a proper explanation that basically they're getting revenge on these two couples, because it's revealed that they are basically, it's the couples who are the villains. They're like these psychopath couples that are basically doing these experiments or torturing kids. And
I really enjoyed that twist. Yeah, the twist was cool.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
I enjoyed the gore, like it's like scooping it out, like.
And I love the fact that, you know, you saw clips of her. Like was it the video cameras and where you saw the clips of them having a good time with these children's bodies and body parts, and then you didn't really get it why that was, because originally I think when you first see that clip you think it's like chocolate or something or candy and they're just messing around, and the next thing you know it's actually a real eyeball. And I love the girl who's had her eye taken out and just got a big axe, goes motherfucker, Joel. Fucking boom right in the top of her head. Just epic. My favorite out of all the stories.
Wolf.
I'm not really sure what to think of it because throughout the entire time I was just so confused by this one. But I'm starting to think, but now thinking back on it, because Kevin mentioned Children of the Dam, but that makes me think of his Children of the Corn for some reason. Because I was kind of like seeing like what they were trying to base everything off of. But first seeing that, I mean, when the guy first opens the door and it's the witch girl, and he goes, because she was just standing there, I had a feeling she was going to kill him because she just stood there motionless, like no response. And I'm like, she's about to kill him, isn't she? And right before I knew it, she just stabbed him in the gut. I went, yep, saw that coming. But then
was it just me, or does that little witch remind you of the witch in Trick or Treat too?
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
There is similarities. Because don't forget, this came out, was it 2015?
Yeah.
And Trick or Treat came out in 2007, I think.
Yep.
So obviously you can tell the influences from Trick or Treat into this straight away.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that until now.
Anthony, go ahead, finish, Wolf.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it was just crazy how everyone was just getting killed off left and right. The one that caught me by surprise was when that stoner turned and she like spit fire in his face.
Yeah. Tony.
It's another one that I forgot how it ended because, you know, they seem like they're just, you know, having a little fun and then answering the door and giving kids candy. And then it's like she gets stabbed. I'm like, oh my God, that's like scary, you know? And they're like, oh my God. And then the kids start going, she runs to the car, gets her ankle slashed. And then like, they start
Right?
beating her, and then the way she falls in the pool is funny. But yeah, the whole twist of the ending, it's like it goes from like I feel bad for these people to they got what they deserved, And I love that the kids went to save their friend and take revenge for them. That I loved it. Yeah, it's a good one. I also like the guy who got stabbed at the door is Trent Haga, and he's in a lot of trauma stuff. So it was nice to see him in this, and I kind of wish he was in it longer because he's like a really good actor. But yeah, it was a good segment. Good to rewatch it.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was funny too because obviously the way these particular segments interact is through different episodes. You see similar faces, like the witch might be walking down the street because she was involved in something else or whatever. But you see these 4 kids at another episode where they're trick or treating, and the chick's like, "Well, what are you?" And he's like, "I'm an alien." And he's killed someone earlier. It's like all kid like and whatnot.
Yeah, you never know.
Anthony, go ahead.
While this is not my favorite episode in the movie, it's my favorite of the serious ones.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's the best twist.
Yeah,
at the end,
which is something this film does excel at. Like a lot of them have a really good twist, but this does have the best twist. And like I said, it starts out, you feel bad for these people until you get to the end and the lady goes to call the cops, and then she stops and starts deleting photos with these horrific images.
That was crazy.
Yeah. But one thing I really loved in this one is they're watching Night of the Living Dead while this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And as it ends and you're getting her killed and you're getting the images of what's going on, it's mirroring shots from Night of the Living Dead, which it was such a great job editing that little scene. This was just a short and sweet revenge story with a surprising twist that just elevates this one to true greatness.
I think sometimes I'm like, I want to know the backstory of these 6 people.
Well, you talked about it. Anthony talked about where Sweet Tooth could probably do its own story. You could literally take this story and make a whole movie. It would be very interesting.
And just have this segment as the end of the movie.
Yeah. Rob.
Yeah, this one's definitely among my favorite of the 10. I have like several favorites. This is definitely one of them. Good twist at the end. I was watching it. I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is this all out, this kids killing, being twisted. And when I saw the ending, I was pretty pleasantly surprised about, it does definitely change your mindset when you look at it. And then you realize the kids are just kind of defending their friends and coming back for revenge for the friends that they lost. So yeah, this was arguably the best one of the 10. Yeah, now looking back on it, it's probably the best one of the 10 for the more horror and good twist. And that's the thing when it comes to horror. Like I'm very, like I said, I'm very picky about my horror because I don't like this mindless violence. Like I like good stories, and this is definitely a good story.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Neko, on that one?
No, I agree. I think it's a good story, and you know how I felt the first time I saw it, because the first time I saw it was with you, and I did not expect it. But I also, again, I dig the gore. I dig just, you can feel the scoop. I don't know why the scoop is like
the scoop
is like in my head, the scoop, and you don't really even see the scoop, but it's like I know it was scooped out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Mr. Abaddon was hitting that tail there, Sensei.
It's amazing too, like that girl, she like burns the guy and then puts rat poison in his mouth and duct tapes it.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even think to do that, you know. And I'm 45 years old.
Yeah, she was very detailed. That one you got to watch out for. I would if I were her
But I
parents.
think that's
Yeah,
what makes
yeah.
that episode so great is that you go into it thinking, "Oh my god, these kids are horrible," but then you found out why they did it, and it's like, "Oh, well, they were justified." You totally turned the table on it.
Well, the funny thing is, when I saw those pictures, like it showed of them and their friends with what they did, I thought that was just them messing with like fake props and stuff. Didn't realize those were actual kids. They were performing those acts on those pictures.
Yeah.
Now that you guys mentioned all of that, I'm like, okay, the killing was justified.
Yeah, I mean, they're still horrible kids. You would think they'd call the police, but you know, they're the lesser of two evils in that scenario.
Yeah, but what would have happened if they called the police? No proof. They couldn't have gotten a warrant. They would have just answered a few questions, and it would have been lights out for that kid.
Yeah. Sure. Now they go to jail. So I guess that's the chance you got to take. You know. No, but story-wise, it was great. I thought it was great, and obviously, yeah, they were justified when you're in that kind of scenario where it's just them, because you know if they don't do anything, then any one of them can be the victims. So
yeah, true.
Yep.
All right. Well, our next segment is my favorite of the group. It's called "The Weak and the Wicked," which I will call "Howdy, Partner." And so that's why this is about a young boy who is summoning a demon to get revenge on a trio of teens that were responsible for the death of his parents as children. I always loved like the makeup of the kids back then when they were very small. I thought that was very cool. Like I guess it's sort of like it's part of the Mexican thing.
Skulls, I think they're called.
Yeah. I always loved that look. I thought it was very cool, very good, nice aesthetic. Yeah. So let's go with Wolf. You start with this. How you felt about that episode?
So it was also one that was pretty nuts when I first went into it. I mean, first off, I was getting so angry at the bullies. I was hoping someone's going to come by and save that kid before he got his foot. I'm guessing she was trying to burn the sole of his foot with a cigar or something like that.
Yeah.
And all that makes me think of is when my grandfather accidentally burnt my arm with a cigar, teaching me how to drive.
Oh.
And so just watching that, I'm thinking, oh no, I know how this is going to feel. I've had this happen to me before. And so, and then when that first kid showing up, because I'm thinking, kid, get out of there. What are you doing just stand there? I was thinking a demon was going to come out from right away. But no, this turns out to be this ordinary kid. I went, okay, he's going to end up getting the crap beat out of him. Something doesn't happen soon. So here he is trying to outrun bullies on freaking bicycles. And he runs to a dead end. Yep, and he's over there running to a dead end. I'm like, if this thing don't show up soon, that kid is just going to get the crap beat out of him. And right before they could do anything, you see that demon pop out. I'm thinking, finally something happens. And I loved it when they just ran away as soon as that monster just killed the leader, which was that lady.
Yeah, well, I killed the other guys first. It just pulled them in and took care of them. But Neko, how did you feel about that episode?
Well, it's my least favorite out of the entire. I thought it's kind of boring, honestly.
I like how he flipped off the camera and not you. Right next to him.
Hello there, Mr. Goji.
Hey, Goji.
Hey, Matt.
There you go.
Okay, anyway, as we're talking.
Instant divorce.
That's cold.
Ouch.
I honestly, it was okay. See you. Put Big Bad Wolf next to you. I can be at the bottom. Wait, this is all weird now. It's all wrong.
It's the wrong tone.
It's all wrong. I'm looking at the anyway. I honestly thought it was the most okay out of all of the anthology.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Sorry.
I don't think my cat likes your opinion. She's attacking my arm.
Oh.
Rob.
This one sucked. I got to be honest. I didn't like this one at all, and I should have known it.
You're on thin ice, Biddy, because you're fucking dissing my boy Angirius all the time. We got problems, you and me.
I should have known it was going to be bad when I saw Boo Boo Stewart in it, and I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, this guy.
I don't know who that is.
He played Sunspot in Days of Future Past for X-Men, and he was also, I believe, he was in the Twilight series. So, yeah, when I saw him, I was like, oh no. I'm like, and then the girl was just
Annoying.
a little bit too cheesy. I'm like, okay, now you went and got the cheese wheel, and now you're grading the whole fucking thing. You know, that's crazy here. It was just underwhelming, you know, and it was, I don't know. This one didn't sit with me. Like, this is my.
And it added nothing to the anthology, right? Like,
yeah, that
everything
too.
else had like a little sprinkle into the anthology, and this was just like there.
Yeah. Hey, big girl.
Hey,
Yeah.
Raven.
Raven, come here. Come here.
Well,
Tony.
Well, I was going to say there's a reason for that because we forgot to mention Adrienne Barbeau is being the disc jockey. There's a radio, and she's she's also the way she introduces into the next segment is like a good spooky way. So she says those on the other side of the tracks, and that's why the story is there. It's not in the town. And the thing I like this story, but I don't like the ending because we don't, unless it's Tubi, we didn't see.
No, that's my one gripe with it is like you don't get to actually see the kills, which is very surprising since you work up to that whole thing.
But I do like how this is almost like a Western type. Too.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
That is what he likes. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
I thought it was cleverly done that way.
It's. I don't think it's my least favorite.
It's my least
one,
favorite.
to be honest. It's like toward the bottom, but it's not on the bottom. But just because of that ending, I wanted to see her get her head ripped off or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we needed that final shot.
Yeah. When Nemesis shows up, what do you got to see it? You know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much in agreement with Neko and Rob. It was my least favorite. Just
I need to fucking
boring
leave
as
this
hell.
stream, man.
Well, what can I say? I have to be honest. It was boring. It took me a while to kind of get into it, and then when I did start getting into it slightly. I
should have known this was going to be a Anubis roast. I knew it.
I just
it.
couldn't give a shit.
I'm more on your side.
Not roasting you. We're roasting the segment of the movie. You're fine. Well,
the time the segment ended.
It's his birthday. We have to roast him, though.
It's his birthday.
That's
I
true.
know. I came fully expecting something. Yes.
If it was his wedding, I'd still roast him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago. I don't know how.
He's just going to come in late and do it. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, there's not much I can really add other than, the time it started, I couldn't really get into it. And then the time it ended, I couldn't give a shit. To be honest.
Yes.
God, dude, he's fucking brutal.
Anybody want to agree with Anubis? If you agree with Anubis, raise your hand.
Please.
I'm indifferent.
Wolf, give me something, please.
How about this?
Okay, fuck
Happy
you too.
birthday. There you go.
I think Anthony he's on your side.
Well, Anthony is, of course.
Sorry, buddy. Love you. Kisses.
Well, go ahead, Wolf. You got any more than that? Is that it?
No, I'm
Is that your review?
I already told you about it. I'm indifferent on it.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to think.
Okay, go to Neko. Well, maybe we'll just pass her because we already.
I already gave you my opinion. Like
Anthony, please give us some logic here.
I thought this one was fun. Like, you see these like sadistic, like, if not already serial killers, clearly future serial killers. And what's wrong with this town on a side note? Why are so many horrible people here? But I do like the setup. Like, you see the guy's kind of like carved something into his forehead, and he hands him this page, and he like, it spills the blood of the wicked where the innocent have suffered. And the page, this does come into play later. It looks like something out of the Necronomicon.
you said
we
that
get the
last
chase
night. I
scene.
missed that.
Now, and like, the bullies beat him up a little as the thing doesn't show up at first, and we see his parents died in a fire, which and she goes getting ready to light him on fire, which like I kind of now instinctually, whenever I see that, I kind of at least internally wince up because I know what burning feels like.
Oof.
Inherent
So
trauma.
that does affect me on a new visceral level, but the demon shows up, and like the one negative I'll give it, and it's why, even though I really like this one, I'm not going to put it as my favorite, is because we don't see what the demon did to these people, and because of how horrible they were, like we really deserve to see their deaths on camera. But
Yes.
I
overall,
agree.
my problems
I agree.
with this are more gripes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go from my favorite episode to my least favorite, which is the grim grinning ghost, or as I like to call, Giggles. So basically, we have a young person named Lynn who's attending a Halloween party from her mother. That her mother is actually played by a very I can't remember the actress's name, but she's in
Lynn
Night Around
Shay.
Elm Street and
What was her name again, Tony?
Oh,
Lynn
Lynn
Shay.
yeah.
Thank you.
And
Horror.
she's telling a nice little ghost story on the night of Halloween here. And eventually
Yeah, this one's
Lynn
kind of sucky too.
takes out and starts heading home in her beat up car, which breaks down, to which the story of this ghost that if you turn around and look at her, she's going to haunt you and yada, yada, yada. But we're going to start with Tony right in the middle square there.
I would probably agree this is my least favorite too. It's just like, again, the ending doesn't have anything to it really. The beginning too, like with the story was interesting, how she's saying it and everything, and like Lynn Shay, of course, you know her, and then the other one that was the witch, and there was Barbara Crampton, and the guy next to her is Mick Garris, and he's like a big time guy too. So it's cool to see like them together, and like it's like, oh, I'm gonna drive home. I don't live that far, and I'm not that drunk. And then she breaks down, almost gets hit, but then it smashes her phone. I was like, oh man. And she decides to walk home, and it took forever. I'm like, why didn't she just walk back to her friend's house?
Yeah.
And just get a ride home? But then we wouldn't have this segment, I guess. But the thing that was the creepiest in this, though, was while she was walking, and you see it in the background, walking and then getting closer. That was creepy. But yeah, it was definitely not very good. It lacked.
Kevin.
It lacked.
Well, you see, I was excited with this one, but then I was very disappointed by the end, because it starts off, like you say, with Lynn Shay, and then who's a fantastic actress, a screen queen, and then she tells that story, and then you see the girl walking home, and you know, you're like, right, you know, like Tony says, she's walking home, it's taking forever, and then I just assumed once she finally made it home, there was going to be like, where she's going to be like creeped out and lots of scary stuff happening in the house. And I just think the payoff for the build-up just didn't match in this segment. Like, there was all this build-up with this ghost character. If you turn around, it's going to get you. And then when she's sitting at the couch and you finally see the ghost and it ends, I thought I was very disappointed. I thought it was too much build-up and no payoff.
Yeah. Wolf.
So which one was this again?
It's the one where the girl was walking while driving home and broke down, and then she got home and the ghost was sitting next to her on the couch.
Oh yeah, that one wasn't at all my favorite. I found that to be very lacking and just I was pretty bored out of my mind.
Rob.
Yeah, the only thing keeping this one from being the worst one is the Week and the Wicked existing in this. This one has like a blue ball effect, because I was pretty excited in the beginning, and then when she's walking home, the buildup is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then all you see is some grinning bald bitch at the end, and that's it. It's like, what is this? So yeah, no. I give it credit for good build-up and good storytelling, but yeah, man, the payoff is horrible. This is definitely this is what I would put in the blue ball category.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Easily my least favorite. Just nothing really happens here. She gets told a ghost story, has car trouble, walks home, and we get a cheap jump scare at the end. I really think they could have just cut this one out and extended a couple of the segments, like the not just extended time wise, but put money from some of the other segments into other segments, especially the previous, so we could have gotten to see that demon do something to them. So this is like the only one I just full on don't like.
I don't hate. I'm sorry. I don't hate this, but I agree. Like, it's like filler. That's what it feels like. It's like filler.
It's like maybe it was like a mandate from above. You have to have this many stories, and it was like, let's just squeeze something out. It does feel like the only one that like they really didn't care about.
Yeah.
The one thing I do feel about this is because there's 10 short stories, I think there's too many stories. I think a couple of these could have been skipped out.
Edited a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, they could have, if they didn't have 10 short stories, they could have emphasized or put more detail in the good stories and maybe added extra little scenes to other stories here and there.
Well, our next segment is called Ding Dong, or, of course, my interpretation is if you give a Hansel a cookie.
Oh, this one.
Would you like a mine cookie?
So basically, you have two adults, Jack and Bobby, who obviously the wife hasn't been able to have her children. She's very depressed about it. So come the next Halloween, she's dressed up as a witch. They're going to feed the trick-or-treaters candy. And, of course, the husband is dressed as Hansel. He's clearly abused. And
clearly abused.
We're going to start with Anthony Jordan. So go ahead. Start telling us a little bit about this.
I think this one up front, it's not one of my favorites, but it was still interesting. And it's weird because I feel like this one could almost be an analogy for or a metaphor for domestic violence. But compared to the other films, it is kind of out of left field. In like they're handing out candy and it's tied in with the Hansel and Gretel theme. And like she's clearly like interested in these kids and he's doing his best to scare them away. So there's a good back and forth, and like every time he does something, she does something, he like keeps wincing until it escalates and they go back in the house and you see they're making cookies. And like that oven has an awful lot of fire in it. And then
666 degrees.
Right?
He's talking like, you never know, I might be pregnant now. And he's like, well, then he does the stupid thing, should have just kept his mouth shut. Actually, the way you are, we don't need kids. I went to the doctor and made sure I can't have kids. And she just gets mad and shoves him into the oven. But I will say, when we see her like as the actual witch or whatever she is, like it's actually a pretty cool like makeup job and design. And it's essentially just red and white paint on her. But it is a pretty striking and interesting look. So I would put it above the previous one, but those two would definitely be like at the bottom of the barrel for me.
Neko.
I actually really like this one. I don't know what that says about me. However,
I'm abused. That's what it says. I'm abused.
He's like, send help.
I'm blinking. I need help.
Blink twice.
Would you like a yes or no?
Do that.
I did because I read into this, and I read into a lot of domestic abuse, mental health, and loss. Like, I thought that she was a psychopath, obviously, but everything that has happened led up to her being this psychopath. It led up to her being this person who has just lost her mind. And I can identify with that because I have lost my mind before too. So she's just like losing her shit, but she's trying to stay like happy and cool and fun. And it's Halloween and the children all on the outside. And then everything that she ever wanted was taken away from her by her husband because he went and got it medically taken away. And then she just loses her shit again. Maybe she couldn't have kids. Maybe it just never happened because her husband saw that she was a psychopath and he took care of it. But obviously she wasn't trying to lure the children in. She just wanted to kill him. Well, anyway.
Rob.
Yeah, so I like this one simply because of Pollyanna McIntosh.
Yes.
It was a pleasant. So
That's how I recognize it from the woman. Yep.
Yeah.
She wasn't naked in this. How'd you know it was her?
Well, I've never actually seen her naked. I just remember her from The Walking Dead. And I remember her. I like her as an actress. I mean, I haven't seen her in many things, but what I have seen her in is pretty good. So when I saw that she was in this, I was surprised. There's actually some surprising casting here. But yeah, I thought she did a fantastic job, and that's what kind of kept me interested. The concept of yearning for wanting a kid and not being able to have one and having this darker side to her. You know, I kind of like that dynamic and how her husband, even though he loves her, he clearly does. Because, I mean, if someone had slapped the shit out of me like that, I don't know if I wouldn't be in jail. But, you know, yeah. But obviously he loves her. He stood with her and he's trying to make it work. But he recognizes that she's got a darker side, and to protect children, this is how you know, he's conflicting. But obviously to protect kids, he steers them away. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And like I said, I just enjoyed watching her really get into it. And she really, you know, sometimes when you get some actors who have some relative success and they do a movie that's a little bit, you know, not necessarily a B movie, but lower budget, they tend to just show up for the paycheck. But she didn't. She actually put on a good performance, and she got a little hammy, but she nice coating of cheese. Yes. You know, she didn't bring the barrel. She bought a block. She cheesed it, and she did great. And I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I liked it when she's adjusting her boobs. You can hear like balloons almost. You know, it's like so fucking funny.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was cool.
I don't actually think she ever meant to hurt the children. She was just so envious of wanting to have children that I think she would have like kidnapped them.
Yeah, I think her husband's view on it was, why take the chance? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because if you want to, we can deep dive. There could be many reasons, but I guess the way I would interpret it is, if he has a child with her, and obviously when you have a child, you get really close and you love them and everything, and then if something were to happen where she harms the kid or outright kills the kid, I mean, that's devastating. So I think just to avoid all that, he probably
and she's a little unhinged, so I get it.
Yeah.
All right, Wolf.
I will say I was greatly disturbed after every time she kept pulling out the freaking hair with the ear at the end every time. This made all thing I could think of is she's used to this because she made that look too natural doing that. But also, I think I made a joke when she first transformed into that thing at the very beginning to sketch. First off, that threw me off by a long shot. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But I'm like, oh, it must be that time of the month.
Oh, God.
But I understand that. As a person who is a woman and crazy and who has gone through lots of emotional things and, you know, that time of the month, we're insane. Our emotions go, so it is almost like you're a split person, you know, at times.
I have a couple of friends of mine who have
ever tried to throw you in the oven.
Only once.
Not yet.
No.
I have a couple of.
I don't know how who's immune to my wrath. I do it
I
occasionally.
tune it out.
I have a couple of good
That's
friends
my
of mine,
superpower.
and when their wives were pregnant, they said they were horrifying during those times.
Kevin.
I enjoyed this one. I liked the story. I thought the story was well acted, well put together. Like you see the whole thing with the ear and practicing, and I thought it was great. And I liked the story and the relationship between her and her husband. How out of desperation she's wanting to do anything for a kid, and he's basically scared of the unknown, and that's kind of why he does what he did. And he's also nervous about her behavior and how she would actually act with the child if it was their own. So I kind of understood the story, and I thought it was really good, and I thought it was well acted. I also was kind of bizarre, was kind of trippy, when you're seeing her is like herself, and then you saw her in the red, and just kind of the three arms and hands kind of moving. It was kind of trippy, and I quite enjoyed that part.
That could just even be, like I said, like a metaphor for domestic violence and how the perpetrator of the violence actually looks to the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I said, about being mentally unstable, and it's you're yourself, and then you're not yourself.
I mean, she was red. Tony.
What do you think, Tony?
I think it's interesting because I didn't look at it the other ways that you're looking at it, because I think she would have ate the kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
And I mean, she ate the dog.
I loved it to death. I think she would have loved it to death.
She ate the dog. Like the dog is gone. Like whatever happened to that, she must have ate or killed or something.
The dog just went off screen. I don't like to think about the dog being eaten.
See, he's giving you a different perspective now.
Yeah. And I think she wanted a child, but I think being that she wasn't a witch, she was going to end up eating it anyway. That's what I think. And then he saw how she was hitting him, and then threw him in that giant oven. And and then her crying, and then goes, "I'm melting."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And then when in the chat said, "Ding dong, the witch is dead," and I was like, I didn't even until that water. I didn't think ding dong was, had anything to do with it. So, but I do get the domestic violence in it too. I could see it your way. I just think she was a creature. He got slapped from a hand out of her back. I don't know what that is.
It was just so trippy that when you just seen her going like that, and
she was pretty freaky looking when she's doing that. I like that.
Add on to what Tony said, I think she would have too. I think it would have started out good, but it would have only been a matter of time till that kid disappointed her. Then she showed her true colors.
Yeah, I think that's what he was worried about.
Yeah, it was basically a Hansel and Gretel story with somebody on crack.
Mommy Dearest. It's what Mommy Dearest could be with a witch.
All right, next one up is a fun one for me. Kevin thought this might be my favorite. It's up there. It's one called "This Means War," but I call it "Get Off My Lawn." Basically, we have a homeowner who likes to decorate his house on Halloween. He's like the talk of the neighborhood, almost like the guy from Christmas Vacation. But then comes in Metalhead, and he moves in next door, and he's got a whole lot of plans himself. It's now a competition for the best decorated house. And I think we'll start with Wolf.
So what's amazing about this one is, so many people like this to where they're like, I have to get these decorations better than this person next year. I have to be better than this person every year. Otherwise, it destroys my purpose for living during this time of year.
Exactly.
So just seeing that is it's super relatable, because so many people that they put the hearts and souls into decorations only to put them down, only to have them up for one day during the year. and then put them down the next day. And so to see that guy get so angry, and I'm honest, I was expecting him to kill that guy with a chainsaw. Because you see him charge at him, then he chips over, and I'm like, oh, he's going to fall on top of the chainsaw. Nope. He ends up tackling the guy. They both get impaled into a very goofy pose that looks wrong on so many angles.
Yeah. Tony.
I thought this was a fun one. You know, this is obviously one of the more comedic ones. You know, like you said, the metalhead next door and that, and they show up with that big van, and they're a little kind of like extreme though. Like it's like kind of corny, but like they're like and then they have all the cooler stuff. And he's like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I haven't changed. He's like, yeah, I could tell. And then like
it's like a kiddie part.
Yeah, I like your stuff, man. It's like a kiddie part. And it's like, oh, and then they start to fight, and
I like how he turns to the wife. And he's like, I mean, the dairy's closed, baby. Close shop. Close the dairy already.
Yeah, it's like the dairy's closed. Fuck off, old man.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I liked when the dairy's open 24/7.
Hell yeah,
right.
But I also thought like the costumes, like is his name James Duvall? I believe he the metalhead neighbor, he looked really cool like that, and then the other guy is like a zombie kind of doctor. He looked cool too. Like, so I appreciate the way they are with all these old time decorations and like the new time decorations, and I did like that skull that he was talking out of. How like when he started like
oh, I never seen that.
Yeah.
I laughed my butt off when that skull came flying. He's yelling no, and that skull's yelling no. It's just flying away in the distance.
Oh yeah, it was funny. Like, it kind of sucks that they did get killed at the end like that, but yeah, I thought it was fun. It was fun. Everybody just stands around and they're like $20 on the
oh man.
old man.
The cops show up and they just throw up.
It keeps getting more and more ridiculous. It's like Step Brothers. It is. It's just like they try to keep outdoing each other, and
I told you not to drop my drum set.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And there's another movie that was similar to this where they just start like fighting and fighting and fighting, and I cannot remember, like, for the life of me. I was thinking about this all day and I've just kind of been like distracted, but I honestly, this one's like a mid-level one for me. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but it was short enough that it was funny, and it was like a nice like icebreaker to get to the next one.
Anthony,
I have to agree with that, though. It's kind of a mid-level one. It's just short enough to be funny, but I love the whole escalation of the thing. Like, you do start off like kind of sympathizing with the one guy because, yeah, admittedly the music is a little loud, but he just takes it to the next level and oversteps his boundaries. They start wrecking each other's decorations. The whole neighborhood bets on it, and they just both like end up falling over and impaling themselves on the same decoration.
I guess that's supposed to be the irony of it, right, Anthony? Like, they're both fighting and then they both lose.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful piece of just dark humor. So yeah, I'd say this one's mid-level, but it's still a fun one.
Kevin.
So for me, this was like the Halloween version of Deck the Halls of Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick, where you had the two warring neighbours who were fighting over having the best Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
But obviously this is the Halloween version, except they're fighting over, who's going to have the best Halloween display. It was okay, very much like everybody else. It was the middle of the road for me. The ending was surprising when they both died, but I guess that's the horror element of this story.
Yeah, I was not expecting both of them to die.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, this one was pretty funny. I thought it was a nice little break from like supernatural stuff, getting into more reality, because people do compete with houses and decorations, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a Debbie Downer. I don't like over decorating, which is disappointing to I think my family because my kids and my wife love decorating. But yeah, it can get pretty extreme, and I've seen it. I have seen it years ago when I lived in New York. There's this famous house on Pelham Parkway that we used to go on the news and everything for having these crazy decorations, and then it became one house became two, and then next you know it becomes this big competition, and it can get pretty heated. And so this was a pretty good, a very comedic showing of what that's like, and I thought it was a good break in between all the other more
serious,
well, either serious or paranormal, ghosts or goblins or whatever. So yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty good.
It's something that could conceivably really happen.
Exactly.
I mean, we have a guy around us who does Halloween and Christmas decorations.
Oh, he is amazing.
And it's amazing. Like, it's LED lights.
But he spent like thousands of dollars.
And he has his own, it's like tune your radio to.
Yeah, you could tune to a station and he'll have this music playing. So it's the kind that has the Christmas lights that play to the tunes of the music.
And he does it for Halloween too.
But it's so elaborate that people all over the area go watch. They just park the car, tune in, and they just watch.
There's a town where I live in, not in my county, but in North Carolina, called McActonville. In every town in this neighborhood goes super hardcore all out like that every Christmas, and it's where you drive through and go and see the decorations.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our next segment is basically where it's called Friday the 31st, but basically you have the slasher chasing a girl through the woods, and he eventually kills her because she tries to fight him off.
Can I title this one?
Yeah, subtitle.
Sure.
Yeah, so this one I would call Turnabout is Fair Play.
That's true.
I like that.
Or, in my words, why can't we be friends?
Because you're
Twinkle tweet.
Twinkle tweet.
Twinkle tweet.
That's Anthony right there. Let's start with Neko. How do you feel about the little alien?
I love him. I do. I love him. He's smashing him, and then he goes into the chick. It's ridiculous. That's what it is. I love the little alien guy, and that's about it. And this is where we're talking about there's too many segments going on in this anthology. It was cute, but fine. The little alien is cute.
Rob.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite one. Yeah, I love. This is where I had the biggest laugh because it opens up. She's running through the forest. It's very, very Friday the 13th, centric in terms of its aesthetic and setup. He's chasing her. She, like the idiot girl, runs into the little hut, the little shed where there's all these body parts and all these weapons. And she tries to run away, and he throws a spear at her. And he obviously very big, looks almost exactly like Jason, except a wooden mask with one little eye. Then out of nowhere, a fucking UFO shows up. And this little alien zaps down and it's
every trope.
And you went from this scary Jason-like character who's there trying to communicate with an alien.
Yeah.
Claymation alien.
And then the best part is he starts getting chased by the alien who possesses the dead girl. And I'm telling you, this shit had me dying. I said, oh my God, who would have known, who would have ever seen a Jason-like character running, shitting his pants away from a dead woman possessed by an alien? I mean, this is just top notch to me. This is great. I loved it.
Anthony.
Yeah, I love this. Anyone that knows me or my channel knows secret how much I love Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So just to have this start off with a very thinly veiled Jason Voorhees. And then when he kills the girl, we get this like ridiculously silly and cute looking baby alien that's like trick or treat. And he steps on it, then gets chased by it in like a almost Evil Dead-esque film.
Yeah.
And I brought something up earlier when I said what that one guy handed looked like a page out of the Necronomicon. When this Jason guy runs into his shed on the corner of the tool of the bench or whatever, you see a Necronomicon style book. So like,
Yeah,
a
when
part
we
of
were
me
watching last night, you were
together.
pointing all these things out to us. You were really saying like, "Hey, this is this and this is that." I'm like, I never thought of that.
So like, a part of me
Well, they pulled out all the tropes in that one because you had the Night of the Living or the Evil Dead. You got the chainsaw there. I mean, it was all there.
something, a part of me like puts the pieces together, and it's obviously the guy from that skit that found the book, and he probably took that ritual out, but he decided, let me do a practice one first to know I could do it, and he accidentally probably resurrected the Jason guy. But it was so hilarious because like they'd hit each other, one would cut the arm off, the other would cut the arm off, where one would stab, the other would stab, then they both just cut each other's heads off, and the alien comes out of the body, and he like comes up with the head with the trick or treat line. This is, I absolutely love this one. It's just fun.
All right,
It's
you guys
so
are turning me.
hilarious.
It's hysterical. You're right. You're right.
Tony.
It's a fun one. I mean, everybody said everything pretty much. I mean, yeah, I like the shout outs to like Evil Dead. He looked awesome, you know, and scary, like, coming at and like, and he's just like Ross is shitting his pants. Woo!
Yes.
You know,
It was so
I
good.
did like when she stabbed him and he was like shocked. He's like, he's in pain. He's like, oh!
Yeah.
like this big tough guy turning this little bitch.
God, that's what makes it so funny. I mean, he launched that spear. You're thinking he's badass, and
Yeah.
he's running like a little girl.
It was so Scooby. It was such a Scooby Doo kind of thing.
It really
Yeah.
was. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
I was gonna say it.
And aliens like claymation, which is like another like added element to it. Yeah, it's a fun one, like everybody said.
Trick or Treat Studios, do a figure of this little alien.
Oh, do the whole setup, man. Get all three of them. That'd be sweet. Kevin.
Like everyone else, this one just I was completely like fixated on it because it was like just so fucking crazy. Everything that was going on, you just couldn't help. Like you say, it starts off as a Jason ripoff to then being like something like Jason meets the fucking Jetsons to then going to be Jason meets the Evil Dead meets Scooby-Doo and the kids. It was just absolutely bonkers from start to finish. And when it ended, I sat there thinking, what the hell have my eyes just watched? But the good thing is all in a positive way because it was just hilarious. It's like it's the last thing you expected when you first seen you know the beginning of this story with them being like a Jason ripoff to then turning out to be like this Halloween comedy.
Yeah.
So
Wolf.
So this one's definitely my favorite just because I've always been a big fan of Friday the 13th growing up. When I first saw this, I'm like, okay, it's like your stereotypical slasher. Like when I made my comments last time, I'm like, of course, he's going to run into the sketchy ass shed instead of running somewhere else. Typical horror trope. Let's run into the shed. What wrong could happen? If they just freaking cannonballs through the window, she runs back out the door she just came in, gets stabbed with a spear, and I thought it was a Jason from Hell reference because he was kind of going up in the line. I'm like, oh, he's about to be dragged back down. I'm like, nope, it's some alien coming from space. I'm expecting it. It's just a prank bro or something. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, I mean, you can understand like why I put that little clip at the beginning of the intro because like it's just so fucking funny. It caught me off guard. The alien comes down, says trick or treat, and he's trying to look for fucking candy. Like he's like, oh, I mean,
What do you want me
yeah.
to do? What do you
And
want
the
me to
funny
do?
thing about this, it's just so Tom and Jerry. It's
Yeah.
like Tom goes after the mouse gets Spike, Spike chases Tom. It's just like that. He steps on Jerry, Jerry summons Spike, Spike chases Tom, they kill each other. Jerry
Yeah.
comes out on top as usual. It's just slapstick cartoony comedy.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next one up is called The Ransom of Rusty Rex, aka if you're thinking of AC/DC, Who Kidnapped Who?
Kidnapped who?
So we have a story of a couple of guys who decide they're going to kidnap like a millionaire's son and hold him for ransom, only they get more than they bargained for. So let's start with Tony right there in the middle square.
It's another funny one, you know. Like two guys like usually rob banks. They're gonna steal this guy's kid because the guy's a millionaire, and then you know they find out like it's like the little like demon kid played by Ben Wolf, who's at the end of a thing. The movie shows like in remembrance of him, but it was more funny than that, but like not like super funny like the the Friday the 31st one was, but yeah, I think it's funny how like at first they started off like these tough guys, and then they're like, "Hi, please take him. We'll pay you whatever you want." They're gonna offer money to him.
Like Tony first
It's like,
called
no,
him.
it's your problem now.
He called him up.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, we got your son. We got him for ransom." He's like, "Click." He's like, he didn't know what to fucking do.
Yeah, why'd you hang up on me? I don't want him, and I don't call this number. I don't want him
Yeah,
back.
don't
It's your
call his
problem
number
now.
anymore.
He came here
Yeah,
5
he's your
years ago and he
problem
hasn't
now.
left. It was great.
And make sure you feed him.
He gets real hungry.
Yeah, he has to eat, and if he doesn't, he'll eat.
Yeah.
And then the ending with that, with the head in the back, and he's just like, like he's all good, and like, the way he screamed at the end was like such a good scream. But I don't know, it's not a strong one in my opinion, but
Yeah.
I still enjoy it, but it's not really that great.
Wolf.
Well, with that one, I can say that part's relatable because if I would get kidnapped and someone called my friends and family, they'd say, keep him. We don't want him anymore.
I'd
so-
pay the ransom for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Or
Anubis would
$2.
Anubis probably want me to give away the Rhedosaurus figure.
Yes.
But yes, so I will say it kind of threw me off because I'm like, okay, why does this billionaire not want his son? It's like someone's got to have the inheritance when he dies. And then you find out later that little kid is such a demon because at one point they leave the kid alone. They're like, where's the kid? And they see all the candies eaten. They're like, and then finally they start getting tackled by this little demon child. And they're like, what? And they're
Just
trying
showed
to
up
throw
one
him
day.
off.
Yeah, that the guy's like, yeah, he just showed up and he's never gonna leave you.
Yeah, it reminds me of Kratos when he kept trying to get rid of his blades of chaos. It just kept on coming back to him. Every time they got rid of the kid, they burned him, they threw him in a river. That kid just shows up later, causing more havoc.
Oh.
Kevin.
It just
I like this one. I think it was interesting. It took us off guard when it turned out to be some little fucking demon thing. And then I kind of got confused because I was thinking, is that the same little demon kid from the second story, the trick or treat one where
Billy. Yeah.
Billy, is it the same demon kid?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It could be, but I don't think so.
But see, that's
Those
what
two different.
Yeah, I thought, because that's what confused me, because thinking, is that how them two stories are linked, because it's the same demon? But then, obviously, the whole hilariousness on the phone, we've got your kid, he's, keep him. It was hilarious. The ending, I thought was quite surprising. Like I knew something like that was going to happen, but it felt as like it happened too fast. It's one of them stories where, like I say, if you cut a couple of the stories that aren't that good out, you could have done a lot more with this.
Yeah.
and give it a lot more detailing, or made it even funnier than it was. But I still enjoyed it. It is one of the better stories.
Anthony.
I love this one. Like this one and the previous one are pretty much in the running for my favorite. You kind of like see from the like alternation, like, okay, are we getting due for a more serious one? And we're like, okay, so this has to do with the kidnap. This is going to get pretty serious and dark. And then they call and they're like, we have your son. You can keep him.
Yep.
And like it immediately like, okay, what's going on here? And then it turns out Rusty is some kind of goblin creature who just will not go away. But the kidnappers got way more than they bargained for. It's not as funny as the previous one, but the absurdity just makes it so fascinating and how it keeps escalating. They try to do this to him. They try to do that to him. He comes back, and when they finally think they get rid of him, they're like, let's just keep driving until morning and drive some more. Only they make the mistake of stopping to get something to eat. And when the guy comes back, he noticed Rusty's in the back seat with his friend's head. So, again, very fun segment. And this is another one like what Kevin said. And I'll use the ghost one as example. If they cut that out, this is one of the ones I would have put some of the time and money towards, so they could have extended it a little and made it that much better.
Yeah.
Oh, I looked, and they are two different. It's not the same little.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be.
It's not meant to be the same little guy.
No.
I like this one, especially. It's kind of like, I don't want to say dry humor, but he's like, take him, please. Just thank you for taking him off of our hands. And then he's like, almost like this little spider monkey who's all over everything. He's ripping things apart. He's eating the candy. He's, eating people. And I like to see the chaos that just unfolds with this little kid goblin spider monkey who just ripped through these two people who thought they were going to get one up on some millionaire who's just like, thank God that this little guy is out of my life now. I agree. I really wish we had a little bit more of this one. And there's a couple in this anthology that I really just don't even care about. That if we had a little bit more background or a little bit more backstory or something funnier added. But then I also worry about, like, when we say, oh, we want more, maybe is the humor and sometimes the brevity gives you that kind of humor.
Good one there.
Rob.
Yeah, this is another one that's among my favorites. I thought it was really good, and you knew something was up when they went to kidnap him, and he just seemed completely indifferent to them. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. And then when you had him, he wasn't scared. He didn't say a word. He was very quiet. And as a kidnapper, I would have noticed that right away and probably would have been like, what's going on here? I also thought it was cool because the two men that are in this story, the white guy is from The Mist. He played the lieutenant that gets killed and chucked out of the store. And then the other guy's another Walking Dead alum. He plays, I think he plays Martinez in season 3, Jose Pablo Cantillo. Yeah, he plays Martinez in season 3 and season 4. He kind of in season 4 takes over for the governor. And then they're playing golf, and then the governor kills him. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty cool to see them. But, and of course it was funny to seeing this little 4'11" goblin creature terrorizing these two grown-ass men who cannot get rid of him. And then finally, they didn't feed him on time, and one of them got eaten by him. So, yeah, this was a good one. This is definitely among my favorites.
Yeah, so that leads us to the last one of this particular movie, the last segment, called Bad Seed, or AKA Pumpkins Going Wild. And this actually is the one that was written by Neil Marshall, who did Dog Soldiers and The Descent, and also has a nice cameo by Joe Dante, who directed The Howling in this as the professor. So really like this one a lot. Basically, we have a couple where they're carving a pumpkin for Halloween. The wife goes to change for a Halloween party. She comes back and her husband being attacked by said pumpkin. And I think we'll start with Rob this time. How did you feel about this one?
This one was pretty good. It's so funny when they show the pumpkin come to life and he's kind of got the guy's head in his mouth. Kind of for some reason, I kept thinking about Little Shop of Horrors. But yeah, no, this one was pretty good. A little not as good as the last two. I would say I would have ended this anthology in one of the last two. But this one was okay. And then another pretty cool cameo was Pat Haley was in this one. So not a big time actor, but he was in a couple of movies where he had small roles, but I immediately recognized him because he was in a movie called Draft Day with Kevin Costner, which is one of my favorite movies.
We love that movie.
I love that movie. Yeah. And he played, I think, the GM.
A whole different world than it was 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, exactly. And he played the GM of the Jaguars, and he was also in Winter Soldier, and I recognize him from there. I think he played one of the agents in there. So, but yeah, I thought the concept of a crazy pumpkin, it was pretty cool because of the budget and because it's, obviously the pumpkin looking the way it looked doesn't make it as scary as I think it would if it had a higher budget. And then at the end, but I got a lot of Little Shop of Horror vibes from this one, especially at the end when they go to the lab and they've manufactured a whole bunch of these pumpkins.
Well, actually, the biggest nod there is for Halloween 3 because of the shamrock, because it's called Clover Industries and has the shamrock. So if you're not seeing Halloween 3, you would definitely see where the similar.
Okay, so yeah. Then have that. Actually, Halloween is. I've never seen. I don't think any of them. So yeah. That's probably why I wouldn't know. But something very similar happens in an alternate ending of Little Shop of Horrors where there's a whole bunch of the plants manufactured. So that's why it kind of hit me there in that direction.
Sure. Neko.
This is one of my least favorite ones as well. I did think it was a lot of ripoff, but it because it was not done as well as the little trick or treat guy with the ripoffs. It was just okay. But I did like when they were in the police station and they were like, kind of tying things in, but like
talk about all the things that happened.
Yeah, that's the only thing I liked about this one is they were like kind of tying things in about about the rest of the movie. But honestly, you're like, how am I supposed to put out an APV on a pumpkin? Like, I don't know. You're stupid. This is stupid. This is dumb. Like, I'm sorry. I know. I don't like the ones that you like.
It's okay.
It's
all okay.
My bad.
Let's go to Kevin.
Well, of course, I'm going to hate this one because a kid called Kevin gets eaten, and that's not nice. I knew as soon as the kid went and they said the name was Kevin, I said, he's going to get fucking eaten. And he did. And then the Home Alone reference at the end where she goes, Kevin! I was like...
I forgot about that.
I didn't even think of you, and now I'm going to think of you every time.
So, apart from that, it's an okay one. I do think it was... I wish they would have ended this with a better story, like the whole anthem. I think they could have ended it, and I think they should have kept the one with the alien as the last one.
Yeah,
I agree. That would have been a stronger ending.
They should have ended the anthology with a bang, and I think they should have put this one in the place of the alien one. But then I think if you have 3 duds in a row or 3 not as good ones, would people have gotten to the end to watch the alien one? Would they have switched off? Because there is some real gems in this but I also think there's a lot of duds in this in stories.
Well, that's the thing though about these, right? Like you're watching. I don't mean to cut you off, but like you're watching one movie, and if it sucks this far, you're like, I'll just turn it off. But this, it's like, well, this story is not that good. Maybe the next one will be good, and then it keeps you intrigued because you know they're not all going to be good.
That's sort of what's good about anthologies, that you, even if you're not digging one, you can get into the next one and say, oh yeah, this was much better.
Yeah, and it don't take long to get there. So
right.
Sorry, Kevin.
That's all right. Any more, Kevin, or are you done?
No, I'm fine. That, like I say, it was okay. It was, but I think they should have ended this particular anthology with a stronger story.
Wolf.
Well, with this one, I didn't even think of it as a Little Shop of Horrors reference. I should have when it started crawling around the vines. Because every time I saw that, I'm like, this looks familiar, but I can't figure out. The only thing I could think of was the Cursed Rock Greatwood from Dark Souls 3. That's all I could think of with how it looked and moved and everything.
I like how John's always like comparing stuff to games.
Games I haven't played too.
Right. But that's cool though, because he's drawing parallels of different stuff. So that's kind of
cool.
Like
there's some things I noticed. I mean, okay, I can, but I did get the Halloween 3 reference mainly because of all the pumpkins.
Yeah.
And I think at one point didn't it mention something about Sam Hine or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think it did. Because when I saw that, I went, okay, Halloween 3, because I recognize that because that was like the huge plot point to Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the funniest moments for me in that part of the segment was when the chief calls her in. And he goes, "What do you think they're making me out to be?" And he pulls out this. She goes, "I'm sorry." So it's just he goes like, "No, what do you think of this?" And it's like a corpse of an old lady. And she's like, "I don't know what to think." And he goes, "You think I'm a fool?" And then just throws it out or something. Like it just caught you off the loop because you're like, "What the heck?" But also at the end, I was just gonna say I also found it funny whenever I forget this cop's name, but he was helping her out so much that she went, "Oh, you may have just saved me some time." He goes, "Hey, maybe we could buy a drink sometime." In the background, you just see that guy just like, "Really?" He goes like, "You really screwed up, buddy." But overall, I will agree. It's probably not that. It's not as strong of an ending as it could have been. But I still enjoy for just how wacky and ridiculous it was. Especially out of nowhere, the pumpkin just grabs someone's hand and just starts swallowing it whole. Because you're thinking, how in the heck can that fit inside a pumpkin?
Right.
It's a magic pumpkin.
Anthony.
I really enjoyed this one. Like, I think like the individual episodes were a lot more hit than miss, and even though this is probably the most absurd, I was also just completely along for the ride in this.
The rest of that pizza.
And if you're eagle-eyed, like I love how it like references the one that shows how they tie together. Because like at the police station, you hear about, well, I've had this, I've had that, I've had a report of a UFO. When she's in the room, like we see the guy with the thing carved on his head being hauled off, and even like two of the cops referencing the first one with Sweet Tooth. It's like this kid killed his babysitters and eats the candy. So it has its fun points. Admittedly, it's not the strongest one, but it's also one of the ones like from the first time I watched it to when we watched it last night for the watch together. It was one of the ones I also remember the most distinctly. So I love this one still.
Yeah, I do like if they managed to pull everything together in that segment. Like they just pretty much reference to every single segment that happened and went, this is happening all over town. What the heck are we supposed to do? This has been a crazy night.
Tony.
Well, everybody fucking took what I wanted to say. But I believe I 100% agree with Kevin that they should have made a different ending for this movie. I think it ended in a way. It ended like, oh, now it's like world domination in a way, like because there's so many.
Oh, because there's so many pumpkins.
Yeah, it's like it's the end of the world kind of thing. You can go with that, but it's like it is kind of a weak ending. But I like the way the pumpkin looked. But there's a movie that came out I think last year. I think it's called Carved or something. I think it's.
I haven't seen
It was
that.
on. Yeah, it's a comedy one too. But it has the horror element to it. And they kind of look like that pumpkin. But yeah, if you watch that one, that's pretty good. But yeah, I like the look of the pumpkin and everything, and I don't like kids getting killed
Eaten
or
by
anything in a
pumpkins?
movie. But when
Eaten by pumpkins?
No, I don't like any kids in movies getting killed or whatever. But the way that kid and that pumpkin looked getting eaten looked awesome. This is why you listen to your fucking parents. Don't go ahead and go to a house you don't know. So what did he do?
He went for the gold.
And that's what happened. Mom! And the bucket goes down, and then Kevin. But yeah, I did like all the actors.
Kevin.
It had to be a Kevin.
Leave it to Kevin.
Tony's are usually a bad guy too. You get eaten.
No, it just
I'm a
makes
bad
Kevin
guy.
look like a thick little prick.
No, I'm not getting swallowed.
Like Tony said though, like Tony's or Anthony's don't tend to get it much better.
Good thing nothing bad happens to John's in
guys.
movies.
The most we get it, we're usually some idiot mafia flunky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, that's us.
Unless I was going to say, unless you call it Soprano.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But
all right. Well, that concludes Tales of Halloween. So now we're going to move into Trick or Treat from 2007. Now, even though it doesn't have 10 segments, it only has 4. They're all interwoven very nicely. It is a 2007 American anthology horror film written and directed Michael Dougherty, who did King of the Monsters, by the way. Stars Anna Paquin as well as Brian Cox, 2 notable names there. And we're going to kind of run it the same way. Now, this one runs a little bit different to where the segments connect, but they all kind of, it's like almost Pulp Fiction. It kind of goes back and forth. So we have a lot of different things that are happening, but we're going to still take it like one step at a time. So we're going to start, of course, with the first one called Principal, which we will now call Detention Sucks. So who would like to take the reins in this one? Let's go with Kevin.
Well, before we get to that one, don't forget the very start of this with where you've got the couple who have set up the lovely house.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the wife decides, oh, I'm going to take the Halloween decorations down before Halloween. And she's then suddenly, boom, something attacks and you don't actually know what it is. And then it opens up to this great start where the husband takes the sheet away and the Halloween lights are now all around and our head's now just lit up. And then you have that amazing kind of, comic book opening with the scrolls of the comic books. I thought it's brilliant. And then obviously this segment with the teacher, I think that for me personally, I think the great thing about Trick or Treat is the fact that each of the segments are well shot and well done, and the interlinking 4 stories work really well. With the teacher who then, he decides I'm going to go out there and, he's got like the candy and the candy's got like, is it the candy with the blades in?
Yeah.
Got the
I
candy
think he also has, because there's something he gave the kid was like poison or something.
Yeah, he has the poison, and he's got like I think when we talked about this, I thought the kid with the poison was the same kid who was in something else that we watched. But then he has all the candy, and he has that kid with the blades and the poison and all that, and then suddenly he has the jack-o'-lanterns and all that, and then he's in the backyard after the thick kids die, and he's digging up. And I love how it showed like the cranky neighbor next door.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you see the cranky neighbor, and then the cranky neighbor is there, and he thinks he's waving at him at the window, but then later on you find out what's actually
Find out what's happening.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
The principal story, I think for me it was a good story, but it was also the weakest. I think the great thing I like about Trick or Treat, for each story you get, each story gets better. But he catches the redheaded, he offers the candy while lecturing him on the importance of respecting Halloween rules and traditions. And then he has cyanide in the candy, and then he tries to bury him in the back garden, the kid who dies,
And he wouldn't die. He wouldn't die.
He wouldn't
He's like,
die.
and that shouldn't be funny. Like, it should not be
Well,
funny, but
It
he's like,
shouldn't, but it is.
I just
It's just
like
so
the fact
stupid
that
with
he's
how it was
like,
going
his
down.
kid's like, Dad, I want to carve the pumpkin. And you see the dad's face, and it's like, you get this impression he really wants to kill this kid. Like, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Daddy's working right now.
He's like, shut up, kid.
What makes the humor work in this one is because they play it completely straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the fact that the kid wants him, the dad wants the kid, to do like the carve a pumpkin with him, and he's basically ignoring his own son.
Yeah.
And after he kills, because obviously the dad, the principal, is a psychopath. He kills the kid, buries him. You see him. I think it's I'm trying to remember the name. Is it Crank? No. It is the next door neighbor, Craig's. He sees the dog and all that stuff, and the next thing you know, after they do bury him, they see Sam, and they see him distressed, and then you think, all right, he's going to go downstairs, and it turns out they're there to carve the head of the person that they've cut off.
Yeah, the kid, yeah.
And the one thing I found with Trick or Treat that for the first time I ever watched it, I wasn't sure about like all of like the twists and the turns, and for each one I was surprised in a good way.
Yeah. Tony.
Yeah, I like this one too. I'm trying to think what movie you were talking about, because that's the kid from, Bad Santa, the blonde kid. But I don't remember what you were talking about that he was in. But
he looks kind of like the one kid from Krampus.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay,
it's another kind of heavy set kid with curly hair.
Yeah, because I said to you when we did the Krampus review that I think it's the same kid from Trick or Treat, and then you looked it up and it wasn't.
Yeah, I like the the part, and then he's trying to bury him, like you said, he wouldn't die in that, and like the seeing the neighbor over there, and like again, that's very, very clever, like from their point of view, and then later on you get the other point of view. It's because you don't know what's going on, you just think he is waving to him or something, but when you watch this again after you've seen it already, you kind of see he's like more like about, oh shit, help me. But yeah, I really thought he like was gonna kill his son. And then when he went like that, I was like, oh my God. And then it's like, no, it wasn't his head. It was the other one. Like, he's showing him how to cut it. Oh my God. What do you say about the eyes? Like, can I do the eyes or something?
He was having
He's like,
trouble.
I need help with the eyes.
Help with the eyes. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of touching in a way, kind of weird way. But yeah, I thought it was
It was like the family friendly version of the story that we got in Tales of Halloween, where you had the couples who were killing the kids.
Yeah.
It was like that, but this is the family version where it's a dad and a son who are both fucking psychotic.
Yeah.
But the killing of their
Raising
kids.
them young.
Wasn't his name Billy?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe Billy's
Why
another
is
name.
little Billy always a piece of shit? I mean,
Billy, Tony, Kevin gets eaten.
Yeah, well, this Billy in this didn't piss his pants, so
No, he
Yeah.
didn't. Or get shot.
Rob.
Yeah, I thought this opening segment was really good. Well, it wasn't the opening segment, but the first story. Dylan Burke was great in this. He was so good. And I kind of, it's funny. At first, I did think he wanted to kill his kid, but when he got to the basement, something, I don't know. I think it was small little nitpick critique. They oversold it. You know what I mean? Like when you think he's going to kill his kid, they overdid it. Like at some point I was like, okay, he's not going to kill his kid. This is being too long drawn out. But
I sort of got like a Dexter vibe in a way where like he has to kill like to satisfy his own bloodlust. So like it's like he's frustrated with his kid, but at the same time, it's like he knows he can channel that in other ways to get his fix. So he doesn't kill the kid. He's teaching his boy how to do the same thing. So that's kind of like what I got.
Plus, it makes it easier for him to go ahead and kill because his son's already in on it.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, and I liked the fact that the actor Dylan Burke, in the very beginning, you're not quite sure if he's being genuine or if he's setting them up, and then when the kid starts vomiting, it's like, okay, all right, something's wrong here. Okay, yeah, he's setting him up. But like initially, you think he's kind of being genuine and messing with the kid when he's pulling out the knife and he's bringing it up close. And he did such a good job selling some genuineness. And then once the kid starts vomiting, you know, okay, he put some shit in the candy. So yeah, I thought it was a strong opening story. You know, it's weird because these stories are so much, and they interweave so well that I didn't even really think of it. I didn't know that it was broken down by parts. Like if you look it up, it tells you the title of each segment. Yeah. Because they just did it so well where everything mixed in together so well. But yeah, so this being the opening one was good. I thought it was pretty good, strong.
Neko.
I have to agree. I've been kind of piggybacking on what everyone was saying. Again, it's not supposed to be funny that you're killing a child, but it was so hysterical while he's digging that hole and the kid's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
He's like stomping his face.
And I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing at a child being murdered, but the way that he did it was just, you know, enough. It's a dark comedy. Yeah. I love how this movie takes all of the anthologies and really works them together. Like others have said, you kind of see more later on. And 2 thumbs up?
Nope.
No? No?
Nah, this guy's like, nope. Probably should be laughing at a child being murdered.
I don't want to.
But it is kind of funny. It is kind of.
I'm not laughing at a child being murdered.
Anthony.
This was an interesting start to it. Well, like Kevin said, the first real mini short, and then we get into this one. I do want to say now, so I don't forget it, when we were watching this last night, I commented, I think it would be an interesting project to do for someone to do a fan edit and actually re-edit this whole movie in chronological order. I don't think it would work as well and have as satisfying of a finale, but I think it would still be fun just to see the story retold in that style.
Yeah.
But this was interesting. I don't get how the principal hadn't got caught yet, because not only is he super risky here, but we'll see other things later. The fact that he's just so calm and chill while there's a bunch of trick-or-treaters out and this kid is puking his guts out. And then he digs a still relatively shallow grave in his backyard to bury 2 bodies, and you're not going to expect the neighbors to smell that in a couple months.
Right. You need a little lie. You need a little lie around the house. So,
do you know why none of this would ever work? There's too many Ring cameras around now.
Yeah.
Everyone would get caught.
Mm-hmm. But the ending was great because it sets it up like he's gonna do something to his kid, but like Rob had said, it's a little too drawn out that you know he's not gonna do it. Then you get that shocker twist that his kid is a little serial killer in training. And it's just a good way to start off an interesting anthology film.
Yeah. Wolf.
So I did not. So Anthony and Anubis would tell you, I did not take heed that it was cyanide he put in the candy. I thought it was laxatives. There's no laxatives going to have those effects. Because I'm looking, I'm like, Dad, did he put laxatives in the candy? It's like, oh no, no, it's not laxatives. I went, oh,
Nope.
But as you guys all mentioned, I agree. It was kind of hysterical as he's older, trying to bang with the kid. The kid's older, still alive, fighting. He has the neighbor yelling at him. He has the dog complaining. He has the kid asking when we're gonna carve a pumpkin, and he's just older, just like, shut up, son, I'm working. He's just older, beating the crap out of the kid. Then eventually the dog takes heed to what's going on. So I'm guessing it was the kid's finger that he cut off and threw to the dog, just so it shut up for a bit. And he's like, what are you doing out there? And he's like, I'm just working.
Septic tank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I got the septic tank that I'm trying to dig. He goes, oh, well, keep it down. You make my dog act up.
Yeah, he's like, it smells like shit.
And so he brings him downstairs, in which I thought he was going to really kill the kid. And then, again, that surprise twist of, holy crap, they're coughing that kid's head into a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, I just want to add, too, I think you don't realize it right away. In fact, I didn't kind of think of it till just now, but I think the other giveaway that he wouldn't kill his kid is that his kid obviously knew what he was doing because he's literally looking at his dad burying a body.
Mm-hmm.
He's
I didn't even think about that.
Well, I just kind of took it as a kid, maybe it's a little bit naive, but obviously he can see what's going on. But
It's
know.
one of those things that on your first watch you're not going to connect those dots.
Yeah.
So throughout this movie, obviously, as we said, it's got like a Tarantino effect where it kind of jumps around from past to present, and then of course the filler. So Anna Paquin, who's part of this, a girl who's dressing up for Halloween. I guess she's with her sister and some friends, and they're like trying to get some boys and stuff. So they're just trying to hook up. You get this impression that she's a virgin and that her sister's trying to set her up, but that kind of leads into another thing before we get to that, a segment called the Halloween School Bus Massacre, or as I like to call it, the wheels on the bus go around and right off the fucking cliff. So basically, we get what we talked about earlier with Tales, where this young girl that's dressed as a witch, she's being invited out by these other kids to go to this landfill.
And the other kids were collecting jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns, yep. And so the idea was to basically tell a story and scare this girl. Like clearly, this is a episode of where these kids were probably going to bully this young girl in the witch outfit. So they take her to the landfill and they basically say, "Yeah, we're going to tell you this story about this school bus of kids where the parents were frustrated. I guess there were special needs. Maybe that's sort of the impression I got. And they paid the bus driver to run them off into the fucking landfill. Now, the driver was not supposed to be one of them, but because he was giving candy to them, and they were all shackled to the bus. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but one of them got escaped and pushed and basically got in the driver's seat and then put the bus in forward drive, and it went right over into the cliff. But the legend has it that the driver lived, but he got away and no one ever saw him again. Let's go in and start with, I guess, Tony, because he's already dressed the part.
I would like to add, because it comes into play later, John thought the bus driver might have been the principal.
Yeah, I was thinking that because all the masks were in the basement.
Were they?
Okay, go ahead, Tony. You're up.
Oh. This is my favorite segment out of both movies. I love it. I mean, again, it's sad because of the kids, but like that kid that wears this, he's like knows something's wrong. Like it, like, you know, and you could tell, and he's freaking out, and you know, it's just a shitty thing that happened with them. But then the whole them going down and summoning the thing, and then it's just a very creepy element. And then when the way they look, because they're, you know, dead, coming out of the water, and like one's getting taken and stuff, and but then the whole thing with like let her up the she wouldn't like let them up or something. Oh,
In the elevator, yeah.
in the elevator, it's
In the
creepy because
quarry.
it's like, who's gonna grab them? Can they make it in time? So yeah, it's plus this, it ties into another story,
Yeah.
which, you know, we'll get to that. But yeah, this is a good one. This is definitely one of my favorites of both of them.
It's a prank and bullying kind of gone wrong.
Or gone right, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Wolf.
So it was kind of a pretty sad segment just because watching that one kid just kind of cry, I want to go home, I want to go home. It's like, it's kind of sad because it's like you're wondering what parents would do that to their own kid. And it's like, he's older, just like, I want to go home, why can't I go home? And so just to see him just accidentally put the bus right off the cliff, that was just like, you just can't have to feel sorry for everyone there except the bus driver. But but then I'm guessing you guys went to the next segment when like the whole bowling thing happened. So yeah, that one that threw me off because at first I didn't know it was a prank until they're like, "Hey, it's just a prank, don't worry." And then they went back as like
basic mean girl leading the way, and of course the boy who I guess she liked was kind of liking the girl in the witch outfit, so it's like pissing her off.
Yeah,
I could tell she was jealous.
Yeah,
you could tell she was jealous because she wouldn't even let her on the elevator.
Yeah,
and so it's like I guess something happened to the friends. Like, wait, we gotta look for someone. They got lost or something. Then everybody started getting taken, and they're screaming to the witch like, "Please help!" And she's like, "Nope," and presses the button and goes up. And I'm like, you know what? I don't blame her. I would too. Screw them bitches.
There was a nice delay where she has the keys to the elevator and she's getting ready to look like she's going to unlock it, and then she just pushes the button to go.
She's like, screw this, I'm out.
Rob.
Nah.
Yeah, no, I like this one too. It's not my favorite, but it's my second favorite. And I agree with Tony. It is very sad because I have a cousin who's Down syndrome, and you know, I know how tough it can be on parents. My aunt has, you know, he's like 30 something now, and she's taken care of him his whole life. And but never an excuse to murder your kid. So so I can definitely, and then not only that, what made it even more effective was the aesthetic. The sun was in such a way where it wasn't quite bright, but it was present. The little boy, the only one who seemed to notice there was something was going on. Like he first started saying, once the bus driver took the right turn, he was like wrong way or wrong turn, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, but because he's mentally disabled, he has no clue about what he's doing when he's on the wheel. And and it's a sad ending. In terms of the part where it gets to the kids, you know, that boy that was, you know, it's almost unfortunate. This is why even at a young age, you got to think for yourself. He clearly genuinely liked the girl in the witch dress.
Yeah.
But he was basically being handled by the other girl. And you kind of wonder, would he have salvaged his own life had he been more competent to recognize that if you like this girl that much, you shouldn't do this.
Yep.
You know? But yet he went through with it. So I actually, I felt a little bit more compassion for him. Actually, I felt compassion for all three kids except the blonde, because I think she was the ringleader and the other three were just going along. But the older boy of the two is the one I felt a little bit more compassion for, because I think he genuinely liked her. And obviously she's probably been bullied her whole life. Yeah. And she was, at this point, she got pushed to the limit because she got the ever-loving shit scared out of her. I was scared for her because I really thought the other kids were dead, and I'm like, oh man, come on, be the one little girl that makes it, and essentially she does. But
yeah, I think he had that one moment where after she falls and loses her glasses, where he's trying to comfort her and he's telling the mean girl, like, she's scared, like, this is not good, we shouldn't be doing this. If he stops at that moment and takes her home, I think everything's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
But because the other two people run away and they're doing whatever they're doing, he decides to go look for them. And that's when it just all bets are off at that point.
Yeah. She's like, screw yeah, I'm going home. So, but this one was really good.
Kevin.
Pretty much agree with everyone what they've said. This is probably I would say the darkest of all the segments in Trick or Treat, but I think it's meant to, because you have quite a yes, I know it's the first segment's still kind of creepy, but it's also funny. Where this segment, the second part, it's more has a serious tone to it. So it's like they were setting you up in the first one to then come to this one, which is creepy. And like you say, it's creepy and sad. And then, of course, the next segment brings the fun again.
Anthony.
I really enjoyed this one. It's probably my second favorite. I like how the flashback kind of makes it 2 for the price of 1. As tragic as it is, there's also like a twisted humor in that one kid getting in the driver's seat and then driving right off the cliff. In like the mystery behind it, and this is kind of, it's treated like a town's dirty secret. Then we meet the kids, and like, that one girl's like the ringleader. Let her get the worst of everything coming to her. But like that guy, he was like the one that I did feel kind of sorry for, because you do get the sense that he was really just peer pressured into it and he never fully committed either. But like, I also don't blame her for like, okay, forget you guys. If this is what you're going to put me through, have fun. It was shot well, which is, I think, one of Michael Dougherty's greatest strengths is how good he knows. The man knows how to point a camera. He knows how to light a shot and all of that. And I think in the entire film, this segment is probably the best example of how good his cinematography is in the film.
Echo.
I'm going to piggyback on a few things that everyone said, but I do believe that the kid, the older guy, he just got in too deep. He really got in too deep with the bullies, and for whatever reason, he was hanging out with them. It's much like we all said, it's a Mean Girls scenario. He is hanging out with her because she is important or popular or whatever, but he is the sympathetic character. But then you look at the poor girl that they're bullying and you're like, no, she's really the sympathetic character. But again, as you all said, if he would have just stopped and said, okay, we're going to take her home now, let's go back to the elevator. But it kind of escalated, and this was kind of like a deeper, not as funny, not as, and a little scary, but it's a different tone than the first segment.
And the one thing we get is, of course, little Sam, the little figurine guy. He shows up at random points through a lot of these episodes.
Yeah, he shows up just like Trick or Treat, and he's like,
yeah, just kind of watching what's going on.
He's like the anchor. He's like the anchor of all the stories.
Yes.
He leads you through this movie, like through the stories.
Which leads us to the third part, my favorite of the entire movie.
My too.
No shocker there. But we'll come back to Anna Paquin, who has decided she's finally got her Halloween outfit, which is Little Red Riding Hood.
She said she feels like a child.
Yeah. So her sister and friends are waiting for her in the woods nearby as they're partying with their guys they got. So they're waiting for her to find a man to take back to the woods and party with. Meanwhile, we have a gentleman dressed up as a vampire going around and killing women just by biting them with the fake teeth.
And he thinks he's like so hot too.
Yeah, so he's sneaky, think he's good. But this episode is called Surprise Party, or as I would call it, My, what hairy boobs you have.
Yeah.
And
Don't
I
say
think
that to a woman ever.
Let's start with Wolf.
Boobs.
I said you had them.
Well, here's what I will say. Obviously, there should be no shocker as well. This is definitely my favorite segment of the whole film. I mean, the craziest part was the fact that, as you mentioned, there was that guy going around trying to be a vampire. And I'm like, what the heck? We got vampires in this now? Because we've seen this guy just bite women on and off and just killing them. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Then eventually you find out later on that guy was only the principal and those happen to be fake teeth. And it makes you wonder what the heck is going on with his son right now. But just seeing that, and so later on down the road, we see her older sister talking to all their friends, and they're like, what's taking her so long? Or do you think she would come through? And she's just like, Mom always says she was the runt of the litter. And so I'm just like, okay, typical big sibling being a total douchebag to the younger sibling.
It was actually funny when we were watching this because Anthony and I were laughing at you because you kept guessing and guessing and guessing until it took you to the very end to figure out what the fuck.
I even was like, pay attention to what she just said.
Yeah, you're like, pay attention to runt of the litter, but I just took it as, okay, it's just a big sibling just belittling and demeanoring their younger sibling, because I've been around all of that before with friends of mine doing that to their siblings. But then you just see the guy just fall out freaking nowhere from a tree, and he's just like, someone help me, please. And they're like, first blood? She goes, yep. He goes, okay, ladies, you know what to do. And so they literally shut off their skin, transform into freaking werewolves, and just literally tearing apart all the men to shreds. Which brings a whole new meaning to
the biggest, funniest thing about this is that I've seen this film about 2 or 3 times prior. It wasn't until this time that I realized that this was our principal. That was in the mask.
Yeah, all I
so
can
it
say
took
is,
me a minute. I'm like, oh, great. You can finally get your end. I like this.
And so I will say this brings a whole new meaning to the song Man Eater.
Yeah. Anthony.
So, I like to add what Anubis said about how we were like dropping hints to John the whole time. Like, we did everything short of saying it's werewolves.
I know. I'm like, dude, you're like my brother who loves werewolves. You got to guess this. Like, it's like I'm trying to give you the hints. He's like, they're vampires.
I wasn't expecting it just because all the elements and themes going on. There was nothing really hinting. But then again, the fact that she was fucking low red inviting her should have been the red flag, literally.
And, and the line, runt of the litter, I told you to pay attention to.
Yeah, I paid attention to it, but I just took it as big sibling being mean to little sibling.
And I do like the role reversal because obviously Little Red Riding Hood was stalked by the wolf, and in this case, she is the wolf. So I love that aspect. Let's go to Kevin.
Oh, I didn't get to go on to my.
Oh, go ahead, brother. Go. Sorry.
I was saying that this one was fun too. Like, we see this guy who may or may not be a vampire, and we know there are some supernatural goings on, especially by the previous one, which leaves you wondering, and you're actually kind of scared for this character. She's clearly getting pressured to do something by her sister she may not be ready to do. And we see this guy who we've seen brazenly kill out in the open follow her, and it's just a great twist when you hear the scream and something wrapped in the red hood goes flying through the trees, and we think it's her, only for them to pull the hood back and see it's the vampire guy who makes it even better when they pull the mask off and it's the principal. It's like, well, you're about to get what you deserve there, buddy.
And the worse the Joker, you get what you fucking deserve.
Kevin.
Oh, I love this one. I think it's a great, and it's the only time where I like werewolves because the principal gets his comeuppance. It's not that I hate werewolves, as you know, I do like. I'm more of a vampire guy. I like me vampire movies.
Really?
But I do.
I had no idea.
I do love like a good werewolf film as well. But this is a great movie, you know, and this is a great segment where, like you said, the twist is, like Anubis said, it's Red Riding Hood that turns out to be the wolf. And, you know, the whole backstory, how she's seen she's a virgin and, you know, it's her first time and they're looking for a guy. You think, oh, you know, you're looking about and you're thinking to yourself, oh, she's looking for a guy to lose her virginity, but not in the way you think. It's like her first kill. And it's the douchebag principal.
Yep.
Who just fucking killed a kid and has told his kid to carve a head in his basement of his house. So it's just a great setup. And it was like I said, the great thing I like about this is the twists and the turns in it. There's some twists and turns you don't see coming, and I didn't see the principal. And I kind of, unlike John, I kind of did see the werewolf coming. And it was like Anthony said when they mentioned about the run to the litter and then the fact she was in Red Riding Hood. Our first time I seen this, I remember seeing, is this going to be werewolves? And when it did turn out to be werewolves, that bit did not surprise me, but the bit that did surprise me is that the man under the vampire mask was the principal.
Yeah.
And it's like, the great thing about Trick or Treat is where I know you said Tales of Halloween, all of the stories are kind of linked. For me, it's all over the place, Tales of Halloween, where this, because it's only 4 stories, this is clearly fully interlinked. Like, and it's woven so well and, you know, moves together smoothly with each story that it works perfectly.
Neko.
I agree. And it took me, I mean, I've seen this movie a couple of times, and it took me at least my second watching to realize it was the principal. Like, I didn't even pick up on it. I just am like, oh, it's just some douche trying to be like, right? Like, he's just trying to, you know, hit on a hot young girl, and then, you know, she turns into a werewolf. I have to 100% agree with Kevin that this movie does a beautiful job of making each story part of the other story. So, you know, we're talking about the principal from the first story, and now this principal is part of another story, and he's going to be part of another story. Like, everybody like touches each person's lifestyle, or not lifestyle, but like timeline touches your lifestyle. Like
the lifestyles of the demented and sad.
Oh, I like that. I'm typing that now. But yeah, I really think that this is my favorite part of the anthology as well. I think it's the music too that does it.
And
And
oh yeah, because they were using Marilyn Manson. Yeah.
And it was just fun. If, you know, skin peeling off of werewolves is fun. And that's another thing, the effect. I hadn't seen that kind of effect before.
It's similar to A Company of Wolves a little bit.
Yeah, I've never really seen that kind of werewolf transformation in any films, and it's a fairly unique way to transform. Of a transformation I've never seen for werewolves.
I agree.
That's what I like about Michael Dougherty, is that he kind of goes back to practical effects. Like, even when he did Krampus, there was obviously a mixture of practical effects and CGI, and like a lot of costuming and a lot of detail into the sets and you know, everything like that in Krampus. And he did the same with Trick or Treat, where he tried to make it as practical as possible. In fact, I think the majority of this is practical.
Yeah. Rob.
Yeah, so much like everybody else, this was my favorite part of the movie. But I don't think now I did know it was the principal because he said his name. And I remember his name from the
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, he says his name. But it's funny. This is so funny. I actually figured out that the girls were werewolves pretty far in advance. And here's why. When the movie opens and they're in the store and they're getting all dressed up, my first initial thought was, okay, these are the 4 girls who are going to get murdered and somewhere in the movie. And then I picked up on something that never ever happens. A and B, men should always be aware of this. Number 1, they were overly aggressive, and number 2, they were picking out losers. And I said to myself, all right, these girls are trouble. I knew right away. I said they're trouble. Number 1, it's a rule I've always lived by, and I've been telling my son now that he's getting a little older and he's starting to like girls. If a girl comes on too strong and she's extraordinarily beautiful, red flag. Huge red flag. Yes, men have red flags too. And
I did think it was funny because when we were watching it, there's that scene, and Echo brought it up. She's like, when they're rolling the hot dog gun, fucking slips. After they're taking them out.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed too. Is like they were trying to have this total loser of a guy be with her younger sister. I'm like, okay, this is a big sister pranking her little
Even
sister.
the other guys, the guy at the checkout counter wasn't exactly. I mean, come on. And then the two news guys just look like your average Joe. But what confirmed it for me was in the prior segment when you hear the howling and the little girl in the witch outfit says werewolves. And I was like, okay, who haven't we seen yet at this point? The girls. Then when I saw Anna Paquin again, when they focused on her at the festival, and she's wearing the Red Riding Cut, I said, okay. I'm like, they're werewolves. So, but still, it was a dope-ass scene. The makeup was incredible, and I loved it. I loved the way it played out, and I loved the little – and I think that's probably very clever that Mike Doherty or the writer, I think they knew that if you watch close enough, you can kind of figure out the girls are werewolves. So they threw in the principal as the one to get killed. So that way, at least if you figure that out, then you have that surprising element. Because that was a surprise to me too. When I saw him, I thought we had a real vampire. Meanwhile, this dude is puncturing women with plastic teeth. So that for me was the surprise. The werewolves weren't necessarily surprised, but it was a great scene nonetheless.
Yep. Tony.
Yeah, I mean it's a great segment. I didn't know they were going to be werewolves at first. I thought they were going to be like witches or something, and like it's like a coven. And yeah, when you first see like the guys that are bringing back, it's like it's something's up here. And I thought it was like an initiation to like a coven or something. Yeah. But yeah, the transformation I think is amazing. That still gets me when they rip the skin off. It's like, oh, like I don't know how if I was going to be a werewolf, I'd want to change. Probably just like instantly, like Altered Beast kind of shit.
Sprout hair and like turn, but like that was like they were like almost
shedding skin.
Yeah, like reptiles. They shed their human skin, and inside they were werewolves.
That reminds me of
how do
the
they get that back on there?
Maybe they grow back.
Once they've transformed back, it's like a whole new skin underneath. So that'd probably be the way it would happen.
So maybe they transform over and over.
Because we do see them in the car later at the end where they're like kind of drunk and celebrating and shit like that. So
true.
That reminds me of the Van Helsing werewolf transformation when the director explained that the transformation is supposed to be like the beast from within coming out.
Interesting. I like that.
I'd probably want to be more like Teen Wolf transformation. I could do it slow or instant if I want.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. When she was talking to her sister, and she looks back at the guy that she was going to hook him up with, and I said, "That dude has no business being there. Come on, man."
Yeah, that guy
"Come
looked
on."
like
I said, "Hey, I'm a big boy too, okay?" I said, if a gorgeous girl came up to me, I'd be like, "Hold on, what do you want?"
Well,
What do you want?
freaking Paquin's character, she was on. She's like, "Yeah, you just set me up with a loser. That's all you're doing. That doesn't matter."
Yeah.
And that kind of does lead you to sit there and go, "Okay, so her sister is trying to hook her up. It can't be for a sex because it'd be a hot guy. Like, why would you set her up with the biggest piece of shit on the?"
See, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Because I'm like, okay, this older sister's being a piece of shit by setting up her younger sister with some guy that's a total loser.
Yeah, but she picked out the dungeon master at the store. The guy's wearing elf ears. Come on, man.
I forgot about
That's why I knew something was wrong. I'm like, wait a minute. She picked out freaking Legolas, all right? And then the other two girls picked out like Tweedledee and Tweedledummer. And I'm like, hold on, something's wrong here. And I'm like, and these dudes are dumb because you should know better, all right?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even paying attention to that. I wasn't even paying attention to that with everything else that was going on in the film.
Those guys must have thought they were the luckiest night of their life.
Nah, man. If it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Right.
That reminds me of a Jeff Foxworthy skit on deer season. It was like these two deer dressed up, and it's like these bucks are educating the other bucks. So like, boys, if it's too good to be true, it's because it is too good to be true. That doe is not a doe. That's a decoy.
So that leads us into our final segment, and this is where Sam becomes a legend, and we find out some deeper secrets regarding the children in the pit. And it's called Sam, but we call it Sam I Am minus the green eggs and ham.
Wow.
I know, genius, right? So basically what happens is we saw earlier in the film when the principal, Stephen, who before he gets dearly departed from the werewolves, basically ends up he's digging that ditch for the kid that he killed, and the neighbor Krieg is talking back and forth with them, and they're going back and forth. And then once Krieg goes back in the house with his puppy dog, he's visited by Sam, and that's the little figure that we see with the little pumpkin head, mask thing, whatever his bag. And this like back and forth between Krieg and Sam goes on where they're fighting. And we're going to start with the man who I know loves this film very much, and that's going to be Kevin.
That's who?
You.
Oh, I couldn't hear through the creaking. No, well, obviously.
Rob's got a lot going on over there.
So one thing we'll say, Krieg, he's played brilliantly by Brian Cox.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, as you've seen, there's been like this continuous kind of character that's going through each and every one of the stories. And, you know, each of the story features like a little cameo from Sam. Till you finally get to the final point where Krieg cannot stand Halloween. He's kind of a reclusive man, very grumpy, angry neighbor, and there's a reason for it. So Sam, of course, decides to pay him a visit, knocks on his door, and when he opens the door, Krieg isn't very, welcoming. And next thing you know, he's in his house, he's running around, he's like, you don't actually know what the hell's going on or who the hell's under the mask. And the great thing about Sam is when all the terror breaks, so he basically attacks Krieg, and he's trying to stab him, he's trying to get at him, and then when he gets the mask taken off, and you just see this pumpkin head, he became an icon. Every Halloween I watch Trick or Treat because it's one of my favorite films. It's a bit like Krampus. Every Christmas I watch Krampus. It's become one of my favorite films. I just love the idea, Rob. I love the idea of Sam, and love the idea of the character and what he represents and everything about him. And I love Krieg, how, you saw him at the beginning, then you see you wave at the wind, and now you understand why, because he's getting attacked by Sam, who you think, like, at first you just think it's some psychotic little kid, but it's like some sort of like Halloween demon kind of thing.
Or
and
maybe
then,
his conscience.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, like, it all comes together when it's kind of revealed by the end that Krieg was the bus driver of the school at the quarry that drove the kids into the quarry. And basically, Sam's like, he could be like an angel of death for all we know, or an angel of vengeance, because I'm assuming, obviously, with what happened with the bus, it happened on Halloween when the kids were killed. So this is like many years later, where the kids have been released from the quarry, and now they're heading to his house to get revenge. But before they get revenge, basically Sam's everything he's doing, it's like a pre, set up to just torture him before the kids arrive. And I just think the big twist of him being revealed as the bus driver, after Sam attacks him, the final scroll of the kids turning up at his door. It was just a perfect ending to like a really well-crafted anthology.
Yeah.
I agree.
Tony.
Yeah. Well, because of what I said earlier about the segment with the kids going over is my favorite. This is why it's my favorite, because of what happens to him, how they get their revenge. And and Sam helped that, because he was that neighbor that never answered the door or anything. And then because, and the fight with Sam is amazing, especially like we said, it takes his mask off then, and like he's a pumpkin. And then you shoot him, and like the brains are the seeds in that. And then it just like goes back in, and his hand like goes back. It's like, oh, like, how do you fight that? Like, what do you do? It's like, you can't. And then, the guy lives, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to start doing this like a second chance in a way. That's the way I kind of look at it. Like, I'm going to stop being an asshole.
It's kind of an Ebenezer Scrooge feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Buy me a goose, And then he opens the door, and there they are. It's on the perfect night, because they are up there. And that's what I love about this one, because it's the revenge on him, because he's the biggest piece of shit in this movie. I think even more than the principal. I think he's like this. So seeing him get their revenge is like, I love that. I also love their fucking costumes. They're creepy and amazing for the time.
They did a nice job of like aging them to the point that like feel like they've been decaying forever.
Yeah,
really
they look
so
great.
Can I add something I've just read up about Sam? So the whole point of Sam is, what is the significance of Sam and Trick or Treat? In Trick or Treat movie, Sam, or Sam Hain, is a character who enforces the rules of Halloween. He punishes those who break those rules, as seen when Mr. Krieg steals candy from Trick or Treaters. Sam attempts to kill Krieg, but Krieg survives by following the Halloween tradition of giving candy. So obviously he basically tortures him, and you see him at the end when he's all like disheveled and beaten up, that he gives the candy out, but obviously he's already caused grief to the children. So even though he's followed the rules of Halloween, he still needs to be punished and get what's due to him due to the act of what happened with the kids in the quarry.
Yep. Rob.
Yeah, I actually took the words right. I was going to mention that. So Sam, the character, is actually Halloween. That's what he is. And actually, two things too. But the little girl in the witch costume basically confirms that, because she talks about it when she's walking next to the little boy with the pirate outfit. She tells him about Sam Hain and how it was the end of the festival that was celebrated in Scotland, Wales. Celtic celebration that goes between October 31st and November 1st. So yeah, so that's what makes Sam cool. He is basically Halloween. He is the essence of Halloween. And this ending segment was a good ending. It was a good cap off. And like Tony said, I love the fact that Sam forgives the old man once he gets the candy from him. He's like, all right, you've learned your lesson. And he starts handing out candy. And the twist is that, but you still have to answer to those kids. And this is their one opportunity in the year to go back and get revenge. And they did. This is also why I think the little girl with the glasses, even though she left the other kids there, I also think this is why she managed to get salvaged to a certain extent, and why Sam was watching her, because she is the one that was very educated on Halloween. She had, if you remember, the front of her house was littered with pumpkins that were all lit. Yep. So she had a great amount of respect for Halloween, which is why I think Sam is specifically in that scene. I know he's in other scenes as well, but I think that's why they had kind of like eye contact, almost like he's showing respect to her. Like, all right, you got it, girl. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think he basically acknowledged that, she was still the victim despite the fact that she did leave some people behind, but those people had a lack of respect, as you were putting it, towards Halloween already. So they were kicking pumpkins into the water.
Right.
So he understood that aspect. So I get what you're saying there with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I it's funny because this is the first time I've seen the movie, and I am shocked that after watching this, I am shocked that I know some people will say he's an icon, but he's not an icon to the level of some other horror characters. And that shocks me when you consider how well this movie's made. I mean, I love Freddy Krueger, but this movie shits all over Nightmare on Elm Street in so many different ways. Yeah, no, it does. Not all the Nightmare on Elm Street. I still think Dream Warrior is the best one.
Big Nightmare on Elm Street fan.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah, no. But you know why? Because, and this is what I go back to when I say about horror, it has to be more than just about the gore and the guts. And this movie is not very gory. It's nice and scary, and it's got excellent storytelling. It's probably one of the best stories I've ever seen in a horror movie. I am very disappointed that I've waited this long to watch it, but I'm glad I have, because when I finished and the credits are rolling, I was like, damn, that was fucking good. I literally said that to myself. I'm like, damn, that was good.
The only thing I was disappointed with in the end credit, you know how it begins with like a comic book scroll?
Yeah.
It shows you right at the end in the end credits with the comic book scroll what they're actually doing. The crease, they're like ripping him apart.
Yeah.
I wish they showed that actually physically in the movie. They give it like that extra big bang of a finish, but it's still cool.
But you know what? I think it was good they didn't, because
that would have probably ruined it for Rob, because he didn't like Terrifier, and that has a lot of that shit in it. So.
Well, no, it's not just that. I think that would have, because even though you're watching it in the comic strip, thinking about how it played out, watching it in live action has a bigger effect than actually seeing it. It's like that whole thing of anticipation is worse than the actual event. Like if you know something bad's going to happen, knowing it's going to happen is worse than when it actually happens, because you're constantly thinking about it. It's constantly in your head. So I think that was a wise decision. Plus, it would have completely ran away from the rest of the movie, because, like I said, the movie was not that violent for a horror movie. It wasn't that grotesque. So if you have a movie that's ebbing and flowing like that, and then you end with somebody getting ripped apart, I don't know. It just wouldn't have fit cohesive. In my opinion, it wouldn't have fit cohesive. I think it ended perfectly.
Neko.
So this part of the anthology, what I don't know if Neko,
the second
Neko Jr. She's being bad. She's climbing all over Anubis's desk. I feel like Sam is like the conscience, and I kind of like said that a second ago. It's almost like Fight Club, right? Like, it's the same person. And I really think that that's kind of what was happening in that house where he's the only one who can see Sam clearly because he's the only one there. But like, I think a lot of that was happening to himself, that he was reconciling what a horrible thing he did. And you look at that house too, he's been living in squalor and he looks like shit and everything looks like shit. And when he finally reconciles everything with Sam, then the kids come for trick or treat. But again, it's Halloween, so they are ghouls and they're allowed to come out on Halloween to get their revenge. So that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
Anthony.
This one was actually my favorite. And like Rob, I was going to say what Kevin had researched and brought up, that he's the literal spirit of Halloween, but the movie had been teasing and just showing hints of Sam throughout the movie, and like you get hints like, could this be a kid in a costume? But he's in the flashback and he was the same size. Like the proportions of his head, is that a mask or does something seem off? So we get to see him tore loose, and like I'm glad like Neko brought up like the squalor the guy was living in, and it makes you wonder if there's more layers to that story that we don't know about. Like, what if the parents had some kind of dirt on this guy and it was like, you do this and take a nice paycheck from us, or if you do the right thing, we can completely ruin your life.
Well,
So-
sorry to interrupt, but there is a prequel book, because obviously there isn't a physical sequel movie out, but apparently they're working on a Trick or Treat 2 many years later. But they did release a trade paperback story, which was a prequel story called Day of the Dead. And apparently they're working on another Trick or Treat story called The Witching Hour. And Sam's heavily featured in The Day of the Dead.
Interesting.
John.
Yes, so the entire fight between Mr. Krieg and Sam just the whole ending reminds me of Family Guy when Stewie's beating the crap out of Brian because he owed him $10. Because he's over there just hammering away on him. There's nothing he can do about it. Then he finally gets the king. He's like, okay, we're square. But throughout that time, I was worried more about Mr. Krieg's dog. As at one point, you don't see the dog game. I'm like, please don't tell me Sam killed the dog.
Oh, I know.
But then at the end, I was not expecting the plot twist to when the kids showed up, because as soon as they showed up, Anthony and Anubis were just like, "Oh crap, he's about to get it."
Yeah,
but I
it
did
wasn't
like
quite
how
over.
but I did like how everything interlocked with each other, because at the end you see the beginning scene to when the wife is like, okay, I'm taking these decorations down. The husband's like, don't do it yet. How is it? She goes, it's over for me. I'm taking these down. And so you're just looking at this, just realize how everything's just tying into each other. It's like you got to be a very gifted storyline to be able to have everything interlock and connect without everything being exactly in order. Because I don't think there would be any way I can do that. And I'm trying to work on my own Kaiju continuation series. And I don't think I could do something like that.
Well, let's go ahead. We're going to give our final thoughts, and then you go ahead and make your selections of which movie you think is the better one.
Write it down and hold
I've
it
got
up.
the pad here.
There is one thing I wanted to add that was interesting, because I think it was Kevin that mentioned that the old man could see him, but nobody else could, and it seemed that way. However, I like the foreshadowing, because Sam did trick or treat at Steven's house in the very beginning of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where he got the candy bar where he put the blade in. So I'm wondering if he's the kind of spirit that allows himself to be seen when he wants to be, and then, you know what I mean? So yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it's almost like with the wolves, he was just sitting there and they really weren't paying him any mind because they were
right.
But then like the girl, even though she had lost her glasses. I'm pretty sure she still saw him, but she's looking in his direction.
I
Yeah.
at one point
Yeah.
thought Sam was the principal's kid until you saw it was a friggin' pumpkin monster. I'm like, okay, never mind. That's not the principal's kid.
Mhm. He's such an interesting character that they could do so much with him. It's like, obviously, if they can spin fucking the likes of Chucky out of 20 movies and television shows, the fact that they haven't done that with Sam, I think it keeps him in the minds of people.
Yeah.
And, you know, every Halloween, every year, the amount of merchandise that gets released for this one particular character, and he's only ever made one like cinematic or movie appearance, shows you how much he's enjoyed by fans. And so I'm hoping that Michael Doherty has been working for the past few years on the script and the story for the second movie, and I hope that we do eventually get it.
Get a Sam movie, maybe.
Well, they're doing a trick or treat too. So
If
I
they're
do
doing
remember
trick-
hearing about that years ago that he was going to be working on a trick or treat too.
yeah,
I hope the sequel is a little less anthology and a little more Sam focused, because it was neat what he did here with the out of order interconnecting story, but it's also like, I don't care how tightly wound you can do that story, you can't keep going back to that well.
well, I personally think I would like him just to keep him as he is, because I know he's the rule keeper of Halloween.
yeah,
So anybody who breaks the rules of Halloween, he's going to come after them. Or, like you say, if there's things going on Halloween night, like you said, werewolves, a murderer, the accident in the quarry, and, you know, he's going to connect the dots for things to happen on the night of Halloween, because that's his job.
He
Go ahead.
I was gonna say he did give an update on the sequel a couple of months ago. He said, I want to do it. It's not dead by any stretch. We have some momentum moving in the right direction for sure, but I'm also of the belief that I'm not going to compromise or make sacrifice just to make a sequel. It has to be under the right conditions with the right resources. Otherwise, I will be content with just letting this be this weird little movie that fought its way through a lot of adversity. But I'm very, very happy with the script for the sequel. That's what he said.
So,
Good.
So there's a script done already, apparently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
So
Well,
what-
Wolf, give us your final thoughts, and then make your selection of which movie you pick.
Who's that? Me?
Wolf.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we're doing pretty much our final thoughts.
Yeah. Final thoughts, and then
Yeah,
make your
which one
selection
you
of which
like
one you
better.
vote for.
All right, so I will say the Strange 2 Tales of Halloween it's a film that's like broken apart into different episodes, and each one it's like it's not until the very end you realize they finally connect everything, but until then you don't realize it's connected. It just feels like it's its own story, and there are times where you can get confused if you don't know if you go in or not knowing what's going on. But the strength is it's like there's a blend of some serious stories in there. Then there's some really goofy and wacky balls to the wall story that's like holy hell, shit just really hit the fan with this one. Like what they did with the Jason and Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. Like they just went balls to the wall with that one. But it's like the strength is it doesn't take itself seriously, but there are moments where it can be serious. Whereas Trick or Treat, it's very serious, but they're not very showing any wackiness in there, and somehow they finally have everything connect with one another. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, Anubis, I can see why you want us to compare the two films because they're very similar, but they are still very different. It's just both of them find a way to connect the stories in the end, even without you realizing it.
Yeah. So which one did you like better? Which one is your selection?
That one's going to be a hard one for me to choose, actually. I never thought I actually had to choose between the two because
Gotta choose. It's
That's what this is all about. That's
Yeah,
why they call it versus.
I know how this works. I've done this before.
It's versus.
I'm probably gonna get scorched earth for this, but Trick or Treat.
Okay. That's all fine. Let's go to Tony.
Well, the Tales of Halloween, I'm glad I watched it again because now I like it more. The problem with that one is that they're not that there could be 10 and they could all be good, but there's just too much like, oh, I don't like this one or that one. I don't like the ending. Like there's too much negativity in it for me. Like if, in my opinion about like we all agree that one with the I don't remember what you called it, where she just sits next to her at the end, and we're like that one could
Yeah.
have been cut or whatever. Yeah, there's just and I did like the comedy in it though, and I'm not really a big horror comedy kind of guy sometimes, unless it's like Abbott and Costello kind of stuff, maybe, or
Mhm.
sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And I think it worked in that movie, so I'll give it that positive. But the thing with Trick or Treat is I like what Kevin said and how everything's interwoven, and it just has like from start to finish, it's just a nice flow. Rob said it's not very gory, and I agree. You don't need like tons of gore. I don't mind gore, but Terrifier is just gore, and there's no fucking like story. I don't like Art the Clown. I don't care. But I lost my train of thought. But yeah, that's all interwoven and all that, and I think the flow and non gore is good, and yeah, I don't know. Trick or treat. I can't think of anything else to
Tony
say.
went, fuck this. I'm choosing this one.
Neko.
Me?
Yeah.
My problem with Tales of Halloween is there's so much I didn't like. Right? Like, so hold on, I get my little cheat sheet out. Yeah, there's too much I didn't like in Tales of Halloween. But in Trick or Treat, I didn't have anything that I did not like. Like, even if it was a little bland, I still liked it. So I am voting for Trick or Treat because Tales of Halloween had some anthologies that I'm just like, it's stupid, it's filler. I feel like you wasted your time on this.
Okay. Anthony.
So, Tales of Halloween, like its biggest week, there was just too many, and I feel like especially that ghost one could have been axed, and the budget could have gone into a couple of the other ones. While it doesn't tell as tightly interwoven of a story, I much prefer the variety, and it just keeps you on your toes with which type of story you're gonna get. Trick or Treat, it's good, and keep in mind, for me, I'm not a big anthology film guy. Series is different because you get a whole episode to shape up the story, where with a film, it's usually once it starts to get good, it's over. I do appreciate how much more tightly interwoven the story for Trick or Treat was, but I just have too much fun with the absurdity of Tales of Halloween, so I will die on this hill. Tales of Halloween all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Wow.
Okay. Rob.
Yeah. If Tales of Halloween was a lot of fun, if it had been up against any other movie, I would have given it a chance. I think hands down, it's no competition. And to be fair, Trick or Treat has the budget advantage here. I mean, clearly, so we have to recognize that. But Trick or Treat is one of the best scary / horror movies I've ever seen. And despite the fact that I'm not big on the genre, I've seen quite a bit of them, and that's one of the reasons why over the years I've been turned off by horror, because it's either just gore fest, or it's too, like, there were some genuine scary parts in this. And when I look at some of the more recent movies where they heavily rely on jump scares and they overblow it, or they make these scary PG-13 movies that don't really work, where this one is just, to me, a classic. It's great. And a lot of the reason for that is because not only is the story good, it's seamless and integrates together so well. It was beautifully crafted. I'm shocked that I don't hear people praising this movie more.
They actually do.
Do they? Well, then
Just
that goes to show you
absolutely.
I'm not.
It's like a classic that's shown every Halloween. I know in the UK, it's every Halloween the amount of Sam merchandise that comes out. It's just crazy.
I think maybe it's this different region, right? Because or maybe just because I know people so much that talk about gore movie, and the only reason I even watch Terrifier, and I know my camera's out, it's overheating.
It's fine. We can hear you.
I know people praise Terrifier, and to this day I don't know why. It's just one big gore fest. It's the only reason I watched the movies, because there was so many people talking about it, and I was curious, and I regret it. But this to me is what scary / horror is supposed to be about. It doesn't have to be a gore fest all through. You can have bloody kills that are very artistic. You can have a good story that's scary with blood in it. And yeah, this is probably my favorite one to date.
Well, I'm glad that we got you to check them out. I'm glad you got to discover something that's new. I like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could probably skip Kevin because I already know what his pick is. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Kevin.
Come on, Kev.
I know he wants to say it, so.
Trick or treat. But I'll give you reasons. So I love hands down Trick or Treat, but I had never seen Tales of Halloween. So for me personally, it was nice to see a film I hadn't seen before. And in the beginning, when I watched Tales of Halloween, I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know I was going to like it. I didn't like it. There were some good parts. There were some bad parts. And I know you said the interwoven, but it's very slight. It's just very slightly. You could just take them for separate stories. I do think the Jason versus, the alien from Looney Tunes, I generally think what they should have done with that is they should have made it a horror comedy and made it an hour and a half movie.
Of just that, yeah.
They could have easily took that one little story and made a full-fledged horror comedy, and I think it would become a cult classic. And the rest of the stories were hit or miss. Where, I like the one with the Hansel and Gretel. I like the one with the kids in the psychotic couples. The rest for me could take them or leave them. But it was a nice watch. It's nice to watch something you haven't seen before. And I did that, and I enjoyed it for the most part. But I've loved Trick or Treat since I first seen it. It's, for me, a cult classic. I love the production value of it. I love the design of it. I love the cinematography. I love the fact that it's virtually all practical effects. I love the character Sam. He's so iconic. And the story's so well written and interwoven that every time I watch it, it's a joy to watch.
So there's something I want to add too. I'm thinking maybe how Tales of Halloween could have ended is, so we know that the form that played the cop, the actors was in an earlier sketch where at the end we got jump scared. What if that's how the sketch ended? Is they destroy the corporation. She goes home after a long night. She comes home and just gets jump scared, and then it's just that jump scare.
I don't know. I mean, you could have done different things. I think they do have a point that the great thing about the Alien versus Jason is that it's just so fun and it's short. So like it just gets to the point and it's hilarious. I think in a lot of ways, as opposed to the other one where it just kind of gives a nod to Halloween 3 with the Clover Industries. I think if you have it just with Jason and the alien cutting their heads off and then the alien taking off with the head, I think that would have been fine as the ending. It's just a matter of placement with everything. But as far as for me, like I saw Tales of Halloween first. And so I think that plays a big role in why I love it so much. And I'm kind of like Anthony, where I'll die on the hill because to me, when you like Rob says he thinks that Trick or Treat's underrated, but I feel like Tales is very, very underrated, even despite some of the flaws in it. I just think it's so fucking funny, and I guess that's the part that I enjoy the most because I know a lot of you guys are like more into the horror aspect of it all, whereas I like a little bit of comedy depending on what it is. And so Tales obviously is going to get my pick, but the major voting goes to Trick or Treat, which is not a surprise. And I did have a poll up early up on my channel, and it's really not much different. They chose Trick or Treat as well.
Wow, it's a large majority.
Yeah, so-
Gum.
Not very shocking. I know a lot of people love Trick or Treat, but I'm glad to see that at least somebody else loves the Tales as much as I do. So I'm very happy about that.
Have you ever seen Tales to Tell in the Dark? Film?
Yes.
My friend Isaac Lee, aka Redbeard the Great, was telling me that's another great anthology to watch. And the funny thing is, I remember back when I was a Boy Scout, we would go to these campouts. We would always be reading these books. We would always be reading the stories within those books to each other when it was like midnight, trying to scare the crap out of the new younger scouts.
So to add on to what Kevin said about if that was, they did expand the one with Jason and the alien into a movie. Imagine if you have the cliche scene like this character doesn't know the aliens on the loose and she's hiding in a closet from the Jason character.
Oh yeah.
And then she turns around to see him hiding in the closet too.
Trick or treat.
All right, let me go around and figure out what you guys got coming up in your channel. Let's start with Mr. Anthony Jordan. Anything coming up on your channel?
Well, once I beat the English dub for Like a Dragon Pirate in Hawaii, I'm going to do a full review of that. And I got to edit together my review of Godzilla vs. Hedorah. In the next review for my Return of Godzilla-thon will be Godzilla vs. Gigan, obviously, because it's the next released film.
Yeah, okay. Rob, what do you got come up, sir?
So I have Sunday, I have a video going up, which is going to be probably, it's going to probably generate a lot of conversation, but so I'm doing a best of the best series, as you know, and this video we're going to be doing the best solo Godzilla movie. So that's 4. It's Godzilla 54, Godzilla 84, Shin, and -1.
-1.
Yeah, recency bias. But I'm gonna go through each film.
Return of Godzilla.
I'm gonna go through
That's
each
my
film.
favorite Godzilla.
Yeah, Return of Godzilla is my favorite as well. But I have been able to keep my bias out of what I've been deciding. I've been kind of judging the movies on narrative, take into account a little bit of the popularity and the meaning behind it. So, and then I am currently also working on, I don't want to call it an analog horror because it's not a horror, but I don't know if you know this, James, but I did I was working on a kind of, I don't want to call it a fan film either because I'm doing it by myself. I'm not doing a movie. But anyway, I'm doing a Godzilla-centric story that originally I was going to use AI as a resource, but I think I'm going to transition it into like a analog style, which I think will probably work better. And I'm working on that. And that's kind of where I've been putting my time in this week, which is why I just did a little like podcast episode the other day. So
very nice.
I've been enjoying your Which One Is Better series.
Yeah, that's been pretty fun. I've been doing that at least once a week, and then at least one other video a week on top of that, just to try and keep the algorithm happy.
Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Ghouls of Midnight. We have that. I don't know when we're going to do yours. We haven't talked about it, but
probably Wednesday.
Okay. So do that. I have Vinegar Syndrome that I got in here the other day, and I have things coming in, so I'll be showing. I'll be doing that.
Video.
Yeah, it's not nothing. It's a bad month. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not like I don't care.
Rob needs to incorporate more metal.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, so there's also Kaiju Tunes, which is a channel I just started. Well, I didn't just start, but I transitioned into Kaiju Tunes, and basically it's different genres of music, but the songs are all about your favorite monsters. So
Nice.
we have right now we have a lo-fi beats Godzilla song up there. I have a pop Mothra song. I have a
Nuts!
What's going on, Nuts?
When's the Anguirus song coming out?
It's already been developed. That's going to be uploaded next week. Yeah, that one's called Battle Scars. So yeah, that one. I played that one once on the stream, and everybody seemed to like it.
So
Cool.
I gotta ask, since Sci-Fi's not here, is there going to be anything chicken related for Rodan?
Chicken.
No, the songs. You know, it's funny. It started off as a comedy. Like the Baragon song is hilarious, but then I have two friends, Grace and Mark, who they sing in choirs for like church. They're very good singers, and they sing so good that the songs turn like the Gamera song is my favorite one, and I wrote that. And when I wrote it, I said, "Oh God, this is so corny. People are gonna laugh." But when he sang it, when Mark sang it, and then we put it together, and for the instruments we use AI because I don't play music, so I do incorporate some AI into it. And when it came out, I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking good. I'm like, I can't believe how this came out. So yeah, the original intent was for it to be comedic, but people are liking the songs. So
Cool deal.
as long as you're having fun with it, that's all that matters.
Maybe we can have a Thanksgiving themed Rodan song.
Could try that.
Kevin, what's coming up on the entertainment headquarters?
Well, I'm off work this week, so because I'm off work this week, I've got a lot of stuff planned. Of course, tomorrow we'll be on the Sci-Fi Century channel talking about Godzilla vs. Gigan. Sunday, Cinematic Synergy, going to be talking about Highlander. And then Tuesday, I believe we're going to be doing a review on Demons 1 and 2. Then on the 27th, I'm doing my own classic kaiju review on Kaiju Connections on Space Amoeba. And then I think Friday night, or was it Saturday night, I'm doing my first in my new segment called Education, which is going to be where I bring on a guest and they educate me on a genre or a subject within the world of entertainment I don't know. And so I've selected Gundam because I don't know a lot about Gundam. So I've got Mr. Anthony Jordan and Matt joining me to educate me on the history of Gundam. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds like it'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
Big Bad Wolf, anything you do? I know you're a big gamer. What's coming up for you?
Well, I'll probably be posting enough. I'll have to do a new gameplay of Repo with my friends, some goofy gameplay we did. It's like Lethal Company, but better. Or I may do so. I may edit and upload more gameplay of Monster Hunter Wilds that we've been doing. And also, much like Mr. Kevin Lambert, I will be on Sci-Fi Stream tomorrow discussing Godzilla vs. Gigan, which I am very excited for because it was literally my introduction to the Godzilla franchise when I was 5. And I've still been working on my kaiju novelization I've been doing for the Godzilla My Universe, Kogar.
Oh, wow.
All right, cool. Yeah, so for me...
You didn't ask me what I was working on.
Gosh, Anubis.
I can't say what you'd be working on, but, you know. For me, as Mr. Lambert talked about, Sunday, we are actually doing the next Cinematic Synergy, which is my pick, which will be, of course, Highlander, starring Christopher Lambert and Clancy Brown. Then come up on Wednesday with Mr. Tony the Dead, and I believe Anthony will be joining us for that as well, as we do The Exorcism of Emily Rose on the Ghouls of Midnight.
Cool.
And then the 27th, I'm actually getting with Gorgera 851, starting a new show myself. It's called Vintage Cult Cinema, and the first film we're taking on is Killing Zoe. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, again, guys, I appreciate you all taking the time to hang out and do this with me. It's a few days before my birthday, so you're all good friends.
What he's doing for his birthday?
What?
I thought today was your birthday.
No.
You lied to us.
Monday is his birthday.
Then he needs to get that beaten. whatever we said because it's his birthday or a whooping.
So what are you doing, Anubis, for your birthday?
That was 3 hours ago. I don't remember what the fuck we said.
All I'm doing is just getting a massage and shit. Like, like she's trying to turn this into a whole fucking another hour. I don't want to do that. We've been here for 3. Thanks, and Zero, man. Thanks for coming by, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah. Actually, wouldn't be a bad idea. I just got to drive 2.5 hours to the nearest one.
That would be awesome, actually.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out and doing this. Even though Tales of Halloween should have won, but you know that's how it goes.
Well, to be fair, I mean, you put it up against some stiff competition.
I did. It's both are very, very great movies, man. There's no doubt about it. So, but yeah, that's what everyone's got coming up, and you know we're done here, and
like that's it.
that's it. We did our business.
That's all, folks.
It's been over 3 hours.
Right.
What more do you guys want?
We're spent.
We're getting tired of this Mickey Mouse shit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh yeah, we got some of that.
We got that.
We got that. Yeah.
I haven't got time for this Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Birthday too.
Whose?
Your woman's.
Is it the same day?
No, I think
I know
it's
Peyton
today.
Manning is.
No, Peyton Manning is your day, but I think Gary Oldman's is today.
Thanks a lot, Nuts, for coming by, brother. 3 more hours. Yeah, Severa. Yeah, right. I've done that once, and I'm not doing that again. Anyway, thanks again, guys. For the rest of you guys, hang out. But for the rest of you, thanks for stopping by, hanging with us in chat. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please go visit all these guys' content. Like and subscribe to their channels. And we'll see you next time on the Middle Time Radio Podcast.